channel.
Violence on the streets of Northern Ireland.
Anti-migrant riots erupt for a second night in Ballymena after an alleged sexual assault.
Houses are set on fire, police officers injured. Question is, when will the chaos stop?
It's just a matter of hours until the Chancellor sets out all spending plans until the next election. So, who will the winners and losers be? All will be revealed right here on GB News.
Austria's worst shooting in modern history. The city of Graz holds a vigil after 11 people were murdered in an horrific school shooting.
Los Angeles under curfew. The city is put in a lockdown as riots over President Donald Trump's immigration policies continue. But Trump defends sending thousands of soldiers.
You would have had a horrible situation had I not sent them in. Horrible. You'd be reporting on a lot of death and a lot of destruction that's not going to take place.
Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner announces rough sleeping will be decriminalised.
And in sport this morning, England get booed off after losing 3-1 at home to Senegal, as Thomas Tuchel tells us not to panic, Mr Mannering. England's cricketers fare much better with a record T20 score against the West Indies. And Rory McIlroy says he needs to get his stuff together ahead of the US Open this weekend.
Much warmer out there today. Temperatures rising along with the humidity. And that is a recipe for thunderstorms. We could see some lively downpours tonight and tomorrow. Join me later for a full forecast.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Wednesday morning. Welcome to the programme. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Mass rioting in Ballymena again last night, and it's just interesting if this was taking place in Bolton or Burnley or Rochdale or whatever, this would be leading the news everywhere and in the newspapers. Not a mention in the newspapers today of what is going on in Ballymena, these race riots. Hundreds of people took to the streets, several properties damaged, at least 2 houses set alight.
Well, the unrest is believed to have erupted after a vigil for a teenage girl who was allegedly sexually assaulted by 2 14-year-old boys. Earlier on Monday, the pair appeared in court charged with attempted rape. And we don't know anything about the identity of those 2 14-year-old boys, but we do know that the charges were read to them by a Romanian interpreter.
Funny situation in that this migrant situation in the Republic of Ireland. It's basically there were riots like this last year.
Yes.
And it was basically seemed to be out of control. Whereas there's no border between the Republic of Ireland, which is Europe, and Northern Ireland, which is the UK. And these guys can just come north and they can settle north. And again, this is becoming... Northern Ireland is quite an insular place to be. You know, they suss out each other. You know, there are Catholics, there are Protestants, there are Unionists, there are Nationalists. And now this whole new factor of immigrants from all sorts of different countries. What is the strong feeling is that they don't fit in, that they're not one of them in this loyalist community that we're seeing here, and that is a bad thing. And it's particularly bad if these sex crimes are either blown up out of proportion or they're allowed to happen and nothing being done about it. So look at that situation there, and that was for a second night in Northern Ireland. We'll bring you more on this throughout the programme this morning.
Now, to our top story this morning, the Chancellor will deliver her much-anticipated spending review in just a few hours' time.
In a speech at Brighton's GMB conference yesterday, she claimed the spending review will be about making working people better off by investing in growth.
This government is going for growth, because that is the best way to create jobs, boost wages, lift people out of poverty and sustainably fund our schools and our hospitals and all the public services we rely on. And we're doing things differently.
Well, what we do know is that today she's going to set out new budgets for the NHS, for police, for other public services, while sectors including infrastructure will benefit from a £113 billion boost. Other departments can expect cuts despite the efforts of ministers lobbying on their behalf.
Well, the spending review will carry Labour to the next general election, making it even more crucial for the Chancellor. Well, joining us now in the studio is Deputy Editor of Spiked, Fraser Myers. Good to see you this morning, Fraser.
Good morning.
And who are you predicting the winners and the losers are going to be?
Well, the definite winners are going to be the health and defence. We know that they're basically protected, but it will be interesting to see how much of a boost they get, because that will tell us how big of a squeeze all of the other departments get. So probably some of the losers might be education, might be culture, for instance. Rachel Reeves obviously wants to use this as a chance to essentially rebrand herself a bit. She's been seen as a little bit miserly. She's taken away our winter fuel payments. She's put taxes up, all of those things. This is her chance to spend, to say that these are, the government's priorities, and she will say that these are your priorities too. That remains to be seen, I think.
She's going to try and sell a story of renewal, isn't she? How likely do you think that will be? I mean, there's talk of a reshuffle, isn't there, this summer? Do you think her job could be on the line, or do you think this really is an opportunity for her?
I think that Keir Starmer is probably behind her. I think that, but partly because he doesn't really understand economics. So they've always been, she's always been bound together in the sort of Keir Starmer project. I think her job is a bit more secure than it might have been a few months ago. But let's see how the spending review goes. I mean, she will be saying, in terms of renewal, she will be making the argument that I think very wrong-headed argument, that they've fixed the foundations of the economy, that the public finances are all on a better footing. That's something to look out for, because it is complete nonsense.
We talk about the figures that will be announced today taking us into the next election. What a lot of nonsense. They'll change these, they will adapt these as we go along, and no one will ever remember in 2 years' time that these are the figures that she quoted today.
Yeah, and we've seen, already, the government making U-turns on things like winter fuel payment. The next time they make an unpopular decision, I'm sure that'll be U-turned on as well. And it's going to be difficult for Rachel Reeves in particular, because she has sold herself as this kind of iron chancellor, and immediately has folded on what she said was a key issue. You had members of the Labour cabinet saying, if we don't cut winter fuel allowance, there will be a run on the pound.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, well, we're bringing it back because the economy's improved. Well, the economy hasn't improved.
No, it hasn't.
Unemployment's up.
Yeah.
Inflation is up. Borrowing costs are up.
So many fibs, so many things masking the truth. The nuclear power station yesterday, they were talking about, apparently it's impossible to build it because it needs a massive amount of private funding, private investment funding from pensions and whatever around the world. So they can re-announce their intention, which is yesterday, but they're nowhere near to being able to press a button and say this will happen.
Well, that's precisely one of the big problems. They've announced £14 billion of funding, but that's not all it's going to cost. This nuclear plant, which does need to be built. We do need more nuclear energy in this country. But it's been announced by successive governments. People will probably remember Boris Johnson, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak announcing that Sizewell C is going to be built. Many of the people have criticised Rachel Reeves for basically talking about some of the bus, tram and train infrastructure. A lot of that was actually announced under the last government. Not much of it particularly new. It'd be interesting to see. One thing that might be new, however, is a connection between Liverpool and Manchester, so people should look out for that, whether that is approved.
It is also going to open up talk about tax rises, isn't it, in the autumn? And that's going to run up pretty much until the autumn from today.
Yeah, because what's being spent today is essentially on the back of the budget that we already had partly on the budget we already had in the autumn, and then we'll have another budget in autumn. And, you know, the borrowing is massive. You know, we're borrowing £150 billion a year, and much of that is to cover day-to-day spending, not for capital projects, which would make sense. And even Rachel Reeves keeps missing her, fiscal targets, her fiscal rules. So it seems inevitable that if she wants to stick to those, that either taxes will go up or spending will go down. And the spending review, they're going to raise spending by 1.2% in real terms every year. So it's going to be the only logical alternative is raising taxes, despite us already having the highest tax burden since the Second World War.
Don't they realise this just bores the backside of people? Just do things, get it done. Stop talking about what you may do or may not do, or we're going to cut winter fuel allowances, or we're going to bring them back. Oh, it was always our intention to bring them back. Oh, the economy's recovered. It's just lie after lie after lie.
And the great delusion is that I think many in Labour genuinely think that this spending review, that no one's going to watch the speech because, and if you did turn it on, you'll listen to Rachel Reeves and you'll switch off. They genuinely think that this is going to win people back from reform. I think that, I think they're in. People
dream on. You're thinking.
Dream on. I mean, people have made a judgment on this Labour government. They've seen that things are not working. They've seen that the change that's been promised is not happening, and I think they've probably blown their chance.
Yeah. That speech will be after Prime Minister's questions. Prime Minister's questions at noon today, and then Rachel Reeves will take to the floor immediately after that. Fraser, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. Any points, any questions for Fraser? Have your say, and we will put those to him when he comes back after 7 o'clock.
Now, in what's being called the worst school shooting in Austria's modern history, a former pupil yesterday used 2 legal firearms to kill 10 people and himself in the city of Graz.
Yeah, apparently Austria is one of the most heavily armed countries in the whole of the world. This is something like number 12 or so in the world for some reason. The gunman was a 21-year-old former pupil from Graz. He didn't finish secondary school. He had a grievance against it, though. The Chancellor there called it a national tragedy, saying there are no words for the pain and the grief that is being experienced.
Well, we're joined now by journalist at Central European News, Michael Leidig. Really good to see you this morning, Michael. And the country must be in a state of shock.
Yes, indeed. There's nothing like this. It wasn't just the worst school shooting. It was the worst shooting in history since the Second World War in Austria. There was a mass gathering of thousands of people in the central square at Graz last night, standing around in complete silence, just listening to the people that were speaking about what went on, and then just complete silence after that. There was a meeting in the cathedral, where the names of one of the victims was named Leo. That's the only one that we know about so far. But the events are being cancelled. There's a day of mourning, 3 days of mourning now. Flags at half-mast. The whole country is in shock.
This 21-year-old, there's talk that he was bullied, but he was a dropout at the school. I mean, he left a good few years ago.
Yeah, you can tell a little bit because it's not necessarily clear that he left a few years ago, because in Austria, if you fail at the end of the year, then you get put back a year. So it's entirely possible that most likely that he skipped a few classes and still didn't graduate, which comes with quite a lot of stigma here. He left a farewell note and a video for his mother. In the farewell note, it didn't apparently mention mobbing, but it mentioned grievances about the system. So it may well be something to do with him failing to graduate. The class there is for kids for 14 to 19, so he was 21, so he could have been kept back 2 classes.
And Michael, just explain to us, as we were just discussing before we came across to you, that Austria is considered a well-armed country, isn't it, in the sense that there are a high number of registered firearms. Why is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, Gaston Glock was from Austria as well, obviously. You know, that's a very famous firearm. But the country allows registered firearms. It's very strictly controlled. You have to go through a psychological profile, and you have to also go through various security guarantees. You have to have a locked cabinet to keep it in. And there are a lot of weapons here. It's a lot of hunting that Austria has. It's very, very steeped in a tradition of hunting, and that's one of the main reasons that there is such enthusiasm for weapons.
How does the city recover from something like this, Michael?
Yeah, I think that's a question everyone's answering themselves. They're looking at obviously the gun laws. They're looking at what they could have done wrong. Certainly with regards to the emergency response, I think that that was exemplary. They have a system, the MANV system, which is when there's a mass number of people injured, all the local hospitals cancel routine appointments and instantly notify a central emergency command how many spaces they have available so ambulances can be routed to the right place. And apparently the Cobra, which were the elite special police, were there 17 minutes after the first calls came through reporting shooting and screaming. So on that front, they seem to have reacted very well.
OK, Michael, thanks very much indeed. We'll leave it there. Michael is from Central European News.
Thank you very much.
The time, 14 minutes, coming up to 50 minutes past 6 o'clock. Let's get a weather update now. I think it's going to be a good day today, Alex Deakin.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Warm and humid out there today. Hazy sunshine across much of the country, but we're keeping our eyes down to the southwest, with some thunderstorms likely later. Now, it's not completely dry today. We've got some showery rain across the far northwest of Scotland, certainly this morning, but that is tending to pull away. A bit misty and murky in parts of the south, particularly around the coasts. Any mist and fog inland, though, clearing pretty rapidly. And then, as I said, most places dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Light winds and higher temperatures than we've been used to for the past week or so. Temperatures getting into the mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 across parts of northern England. So pretty warm and humid feel. That's likely to last into this evening, but notice behind me the cloud is bubbling, the threat of thunderstorms approaching the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall by evening rush hour time. Most other places having a fine summer's evening, still pretty warm and pretty humid at this stage. The breeze picking up a little bit along some of these North Sea coasts and still quite cloudy over the Northern Isles, but say for most it's going to be a fine evening until we turn down to the southwest and these thundery showers start to develop. Now, as always with summer thunderstorms, they will be hit and miss, but there's a chance of some pretty hefty downpours, quite a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in the southwest, but also some pulses of rain coming into Northern Ireland as well as southern parts of Wales overnight. So turning into quite a wet night, and for many quite a warm night as well, quite humid, quite uncomfortable for sleeping, certainly compared to many nights recently. And then Thursday's a real mishmash. This zone of heavier showers drifting northwards, fizzling out a little bit, but still the potential for some thunderstorms. Still quite a wet day for parts of mid and south Wales, Northern Ireland as well. Southwest England should turn a bit drier, and many eastern parts of England and Scotland stay dry and fine. Not as hot tomorrow, but still quite humid, with the breeze picking up in the east.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed Heat Pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, that gives everybody a really nice day to look forward to.
I was about to say, Alex Deakin, it's decided. I'm going to sit in the garden today.
Well, you deserve to sit in the garden.
Thank you.
Just soak up
I'm going to
some
treat myself.
vitamin D. Now, would you sit in a driverless car? Because just after 8 o'clock this morning, we're seeking your views or your opinions on this one. Whereas in London, Uber plans to introduce these next year.
Oof.
Next year. Now,
I don't know, it makes me nervous.
Well, it's the sort of thing you would use and you would get very used to very quickly, I think. But I would say it has all the potential to go wrong.
Absolutely.
It will go wrong at some stage, and then there'll be a complete chaos-ridden reaction to it all. But
I can't even imagine it. Imagine sitting in the back of a taxi and you can just see the steering wheel moving by itself. Actually, it'd be on this side of the car, wouldn't it? Moving by itself, and nobody's driving it.
yeah.
It'd freak me out. I'd be too nervous, I think. But as you say, I think you get used to it pretty quickly.
But you see, the abuse that taxi drivers have to take, I mean, sort of all sorts of physical abuse, racial abuse, whatever.
Drunk people.
A lot of them carry baseball bats and whatever. And I heard on the radio today they were going, oh, and he carries a baseball bat. Well, that's the least I'd carry if I was doing that. You'd want to make sure. I mean, sort of, the public are just so disgusting. People who are drunk on a Friday or Saturday night, whatever, throwing up, whatever, all sorts of abuse and stupidity and whatever it is. It's not a job I'd like to do.
No, neither would I.
I did at one stage think I would be a taxi driver.
You'd be good because you've got the gift of the gab.
But that's sort of what you only want that to a point. You get to a point where you get in and they just never shut up. You think, shut up, leave me alone.
You just want a bit of polite chit-chat and then left to your own devices.
Let me close my eyes.
Exactly.
Whatever it is.
Anyway, we are discussing this at what time? 8:15 is it this morning?
Well, apparently to be precise, 8:20.
8:20 this morning. So let us know your thoughts.
Right, other news, let's have a look with the time at 6:19. The Mayor of Los Angeles has imposed a curfew in response to the rioting and vandalism. The protests follow Donald Trump's controversial immigration raids. He claimed LA was under siege and defending sending the National Guard to the front lines, though it's costing him £100 million. I don't know what that is in dollars, but it's a lot.
You would have had a horrible situation had I not sent them in. Horrible. You'd be reporting on a lot of death and a lot of destruction that's not going to take place. I think if you look, every night it got less and less. They were met with very strong force, the bad people, the bad, sick people that do what they do. But these are paid people in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases. And they really are, they're agitators.
The Minister has met with the families of the Southport victims and promised £5 million in funding for a memorial garden. Alongside the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, the Prime Minister spoke to the families of B.B. King, Elsie Stankham and Alice Aguirre in Downing Street. The garden will reflect the girls' shared love of dance, music and the arts.
Sadiq Khan has become Sir Sadiq Khan, and he received his knighthood from the King. Despite furious objections from some Londoners, the Mayor was recognised in the New Year's Honours list for his political and public service. He's the first Mayor of London to receive such an honour. Oh, that is the stupidest question.
I said, would you accept a knighthood?
Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah. So you got the OBE.
Yeah.
So the next thing would be Sir Eamonn.
No, 2 away from there. CBE's next.
Oh, CBE's next, right. And have you got anything in the post you want to tell us about?
No, but you asked me a question, would you accept? Well, of course you would.
Yeah. Well, some people have ideas that they wouldn't.
Well, good luck to them. Well, I would. Yeah.
So would I. Would I be Lady Costello? Yes, I would. I think that sounds great.
Yeah, you'd be like Abbott and Costello.
Exactly. It's got a ring to it.
It has a ring to it. It has.
Sounds good.
Still to come on the programme this morning, the Princess of Wales surprised patrons during a visit to the Victoria and Albert Museum's East Storehouse yesterday, wherever that is.
East London.
It must be East Storehouse. So this is actually the storehouse for the museum.
I would imagine so. We're going to get all the details.
OK, yeah.
Next.
Can't wait, right after this.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The Princess of Wales was out and about yesterday, and she visited the Victoria and Albert Museum in London.
Yes, it's part of her efforts to bring attention to the arts. Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker was in the heart of the action.
It's not every day you stumble across a princess during a day out at the museum, but that's exactly what happened to these surprised patrons.
Well, it was quite nice, really. We weren't expecting it. It's not every day you see celebrities of any description, let alone one like her.
I'm from Australia, so I was kind of like, wow, do princesses just walk around kind of open places like this?
I'm glad she's interested.
Yeah.
She did history of art, didn't she?
Going against the no heels advice due to the hazardous metal grid flooring, the princess toured the Victoria and Albert Museum's East Storehouse, viewing a fraction of roughly 500,000 artefacts. The museum's recently launched their Order and Objects system, where items not on display in their flagship Kensington site can be viewed by members of the public. And their royal patron, the Princess of Wales, couldn't resist trying it out herself.
She's very interested in objects that relate to nature, so the pieces that she's seeing very much kind of reflect that interest.
That was the V&A's Deputy Director, Tim Reeve, who Catherine praised as the mastermind behind the new facility.
What a fantastic idea to bring all these pieces to life, and actually, so they're not sort of behind the scenes and sort of stored away somewhere.
Yeah.
Only referred to in the catalogue, actually, to see them in person.
The princess was dwarfed by Picasso's largest ever design, La True Bleu, as she continued her tour of the storehouse, but spent much more time in the photography studio, a passion of hers.
So what camera are you using?
So this is a phase one. It produces about 600 megabyte.
Here she was shown the process of capturing ballet shoes worn by Alicia Makova in the 1934 production of Giselle. The images will be used in the V&A's vast database and archives. Kate Parsons, Director of Collections and Care Access at the museum, explains what it was like meeting the princess.
She was so friendly. It was lovely to meet her. She's our patron, as I say, and she was genuinely very interested in the processes of everything that we do behind the scenes, which was just wonderful.
On Saturday, the Princess of Wales is expected to attend Trooping the Colour and appear on Buckingham Palace's balcony with other members of the royal family. 6 months after she announced she was in remission from cancer. Cameron Walker, GB News in London.
Well, good luck to her looking well.
She is looking well.
Yeah, and going out and looking at all the old junk that the museum gathers. I mean, museums are amazing. They are places full of just old rubbish. It's like...
It's rubbish. There's a Picasso there.
If I opened up my attic and said, oh, yes, there's George Best's shirt there, there's that. There's all sorts of things that you could have looking around. It basically is a lot of old rubbish that they've got no room for in the museum, and this is the stuff that they have in their warehouses and whatever, and they're saying, look, you think you haven't got enough junk? Here's more junk that you can go and have a look at, and people go, oh, that's the best-looking junk I've ever seen.
I'd argue it's not junk, it's treasure.
Well, as well.
There's a Picasso
What's
there?
one man's junk's another man's treasure, I suppose.
What they say, that's what they say.
That's the difference.
That would have been a dream trip for her, because she just loves photography, doesn't she? She studied history of art, so she wouldn't see it as junk at all. She'd have the best time.
So would you like to walk around their junk house or their warehouse?
Warehouse, I would. Yeah, I love everything like that.
There's somebody for everything.
Exactly.
There we go. Exactly. So if you're out and about and you're travelling to see some old junk somewhere or other, or whatever you're doing, here's what the roads are doing.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A9 remains closed in both directions at Helmsdale due to overnight roadworks, with alternative routes unavailable. Meanwhile, road maintenance on the M4 eastbound is shutting down lanes between junction 48 at Hendy and junction 47 at Penlegaya, where diversions are operational. In Cambridgeshire, all lanes on the A14 are closed after a traffic incident between junction 13 at Thrapston and junction 22, expected to be resolved today. And on the trains, cross-country services are disrupted by industrial action with no southeastern trains to or from Hayes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's news channel.
News channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You have the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, we're counting down to the best summer so far. That's how much is up for grabs in tax-free cash to be won, £54,321. The biggest cash prize we've ever given away. It could all be yours.
There you go.
Here's how.
We're kick-starting summer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
England won, Senegal 3. I wouldn't have put money on that, Paul.
No. Did you know it's 1 year to go today until the World Cup?
Yeah,
wow. 1 year ago. Well, 1 year to go. And the way things are...
Where is it? Where is it?
It's in America. So it's in Canada,
it's not
America,
just America.
Mexico, Canada,
China,
everywhere.
Yeah, it's
They're playing all over the place.
That's right.
But talking about all over the place, that's what England were yesterday.
Yeah.
Should we be panicking?
I don't know. Well, the thing is,
Not
Thomas
good.
Tuchel says he's doing the old don't panic, Mr. Mannering. But I tell you, it's not great. See, it's difficult. I'm gonna try and look at it on the other side. Is that a manager when you're an international manager and you come in, you only get so many games. When you're if you're a manager of a club side, you've got to settle in. It's got to take time. But you've got to hit the ground running. So he's had 11 training sessions, 4 games. And this was probably the worst of all of them because they were bad at the back, the midfield was dodgy, and up front it was pretty awful as well. So to lose 3-1 is not good. So they've got to play Andorra, who they only just managed to squeeze past the other day, and that's their next game in September. Shall we hear what Thomas Tuchel has to say? OK, Thomas, how are you going to defend this one?
It's the test match, so there's no need to panic. We have 3 qualification games, we have 9 points and not conceded, and we will be competitive in September. We will go for 2 more victories, 100%. We know more now, we are smarter. It is tough at the moment. I'm the first one to dislike and hate losses like nothing else.
He's capped down, isn't he?
Yeah.
Capped down over the eyes.
He hardly had a game face on, did he? Yesterday?
I know,
you can see.
The thing is, well,
He's
what
stressed.
happened? People are calling, people are shouting, they're booing, they want Tuchel out. But what do? It's not going to be...
Well, it's his first defeat, isn't it?
It is.
Right,
but did you know it's the first time that England have ever lost to an African nation as well?
Oh, yeah, I could believe that.
Never lost to an African nation before, but they were absolutely thrashed. And Senegal, they're not a bad side, but it wasn't good. So, by the way, Northern Ireland beat Iceland 1-0, I should mention.
Yeah.
Republic of Ireland drew away at Luxembourg. How bad is that? That's a sign of things. That's not good at all. Very much. Right, cricket. England much better at cricket. Swashbuckling best. Harry Brooks, 6 games as captain, 6 wins. Second highest T20 score by an England team, 248 for 3, which is excellent. And a little bit of golf for you. The US Open at Oakmont. Have you heard about Oakmont? This is like the worst course to play.
Why do you say that?
Because it's so difficult.
Oh, right.
It's so difficult that you've got the rough is really long, and then the greens are very fast. Sam Snead, these are a couple of old golfers from the old days. It's in Pittsburgh. So Sam Snead said, I put a dime down to mark my ball, and the dime slipped away. That's what he said. And Gene Sarazen said, Oakmont poses all the charm of a sock to the head. That's how bad it actually is.
Well, that's where the US Open is going to take place.
It starts tomorrow. Have a look at we've got Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson DeChambeau, he often posts. He's the guy who currently holds the Open Championship himself, so he is the current holder. Anyway, he's gone and played Oakmont, put it on his YouTube channel. This is how hard the rough is. Have a look at this.
Did you find it? Oh wow. Oh my gosh!
This is just landing there in the rough. Look how deep that goes.
Oh, it is deep.
That's more than half baked there. It's burnt to a crisp. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay.
See, the thing is, how many goes at this do you reckon he has? Would he just have the good shot, or would he put the bad shot in?
Well, it's called rough for a reason.
It is. Which is what my golf is. There we are. Dig it out.
Well, you got it out eventually.
It is a very, very hard course to play. And Rory goes as well, and Rory's been having a bit of a bad run. But anyway, all gets underway tomorrow.
Yeah, all ticking down to the Open.
And Spurs, what's going on in the chat?
Never mind what's going on there. What?
This is headline news.
No, it's the same that was going on yesterday, isn't it? There's no advance.
Yes, there is.
Yes,
there is,
Eamonn.
actually. Yes, there is. There's been no announcement of Thomas Frank yet at Spurs because he's such a decent guy. He's taking the time to say goodbye to everybody at Brentford before he moves.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I think it is nice because too often players and managers, whenever leave clubs without proper goodbyes on either side.
They just disappear and everybody thinks a lot of him, so he's going to go around.
And that shows he's respected?
Absolutely, but don't try and talk him round. Don't try and bring him back again because he's not coming back. OK.
Coming on next, Claire Muldoon, Tim Vincent. They're running through the newspapers when they're our guests doing that today. Here is a forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heat and humidity in Spain might just trigger 1 or 2 heavy thundery showers. Heat is also building in Italy. Sunny in Greece, not too hot here though, because the winds are coming down from the north. Very small chance of a heavy shower breaking out over Croatia, but generally the weather's set fair here. Inland over Italy, also potentially there may be 1 or 2 heavy downpours. It's fine, it's dry, it's sunny in the Canaries. That will continue for the next few days, and the temperatures in Rome sticking in the mid-30s into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now imagine this. You spend your entire life dreaming of public service. You work your way up to become the Director of Public Prosecutions. You then become a Member of Parliament, and just next to your constituency is a world-famous museum hosting
I'm imagining it, Tom.
waxworks of famous figures, and you think, you dream that one day you will be featured in this mausoleum, for want of a better word. You become Prime Minister and you think, now, finally, my waxwork will be on display at the world-famous Madame Tussauds. And then they say no.
And then you find out that Theresa May has one.
Oh.
Yes, so Madame Tussauds, there's Theresa May. There she is in her suit.
Yeah,
she was always one for colourful outfits.
Theresa May has a waxwork there, so does Boris Johnson, of course. It's reasonable to expect the Prime Minister would have thought that he would join the likes of David Cameron, Theresa May and Boris Johnson with a waxwork.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill has one. Harold Macmillan, apparently, was previously displayed. Tony Blair.
Of course.
Tony Blair, of course. But apparently, so Madame Tussauds can't be sure that he'll still be relevant in 5 years' time. That's the reason.
Is that why they've said it? No.
They can't be sure, so they want to put the money into it, presumably.
Wow.
I could imagine Keir Starmer commissioning his own.
And yet, Lord Salisbury had a waxwork, the Marquis of Salisbury, Harold Macmillan and David Lloyd George, of course. But the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland...
Think about this.
...does not have a waxwork because he's not relevant.
A spokesperson told the Metro, "We have no current plans to make a figure of the British Prime Minister."
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30am.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
So here we are, time coming up to 7:15. Time for our daily reflection with Richard England, who is a vicar of the Crofton parish.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. Who's the most encouraging person in your life? Do you know anyone who is just ridiculously positive and affirming, who always makes you feel better and braver? Today, Christians remember Barnabas, whose name means son of encouragement. You can read Barnabas' story in the book of Acts. He believed in people and never wrote anyone off. Barnabas was the one who gave Paul the apostle his start. Paul went on to write a quarter of the New Testament and started churches all around the Mediterranean. When Paul gave up on a young man called Mark, Barnabas supported Mark, looked after him, and Mark went on to write the Gospel of, Mark. I'm a pathological encourager. I love seeing people try things, succeed, and grow in their gifts and skills. I love that line by Walt Whitman, be curious, not judgmental. You can't encourage someone if you've already written them off. You may not have had much encouragement in your life. Maybe you got written off at some stage. But some of the most encouraging people I know have had the most difficult lives. Whether you've ever had a Barnabas or not, you can be a Barnabas to someone else. How different would the world be if we chose today to encourage someone else to help us remember St. Barnabas, the son of encouragement?
Now, we're going through the papers in the company of commentator Claire Muldoon and actor and TV host Tim Vincent. Morning, you two.
Morning. Good morning.
Tim, let's start with the front page of the Daily Telegraph this morning, shall we? And this is Angela Rayner's dropped the law on rough sleepers.
Yes, rough sleeping is to be decriminalised as the government abolishes a 200-year-old law that made it illegal. The Vagrancy Act, introduced in 1824 to tackle homelessness crisis after the Industrial Revolution, I'm sure we all remember that, is to be repealed by next spring. The Deputy Prime Minister said the move would draw a line under nearly 2 centuries of injustice. I think the devil's in the details here. If you actually read the full article, in 2011 there was 1,000 people, just over 1,000 people prosecuted. The year before last it was down to 79. So I think it's one of those things that you can probably still, if you look at the old archaic laws, drive sheep down Downing Street, and it has never been repealed, and it's now being taken. I think the bigger question is what's going to replace it? Because the police still need some kind of force to be able to act on people.
Well, why is it anybody's fault that they're homeless? How can you actually charge someone with the crime of not having a house.
Well, if you look at it, they can be fined up to £1,000 if they're homeless. But, you know, how are you going to get £1,000?
How are you going to reclaim that back from someone who clearly is very impoverished and very vulnerable? I think in this case, the law is an ass and she's right to repeal it.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually acted on very often. But,
and I think as well, the devil is in the detail. You're really right, Tim, because what I would prefer is that they tackle the issue of homelessness instead of just putting a blanket ban over, well, now we're not going to make it criminal. And who would have actually thought it was criminal in the first place?
The homelessness is the what a visible problem that you can see. There's secret homeless. There's people that try and manage the situation themselves that are sofa surfing, or can afford a hotel for a couple of weeks, and then they don't know where they're going to go. Those are the people that actually need help. As some people that choose to be on the streets. I know that's a very unpalatable thing to say, but some people don't want to be in the infrastructure of help. But there are those people that are working but not making enough money.
Who are slipping through the cracks.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the secret homelessness, I think, which is an issue.
See, Prince William, I think about a year ago, he was basically saying this is his aim, this is his crusade to obliterate homelessness. And I just think that should be given more strength, more of a priority. All this nonsense where Reeves gets up today and talks about stuff that nobody's ever going to remember. What's she doing about homelessness?
It's a basic fundamental right to have shelter. And yet there's so many people that don't have it. And how can you base communities, families, everything against something that is not there? The fabric of society, surely, is made up from shelter and food.
And you can't get a job if you don't have an address.
No,
absolutely.
It's a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We all tend to close our eyes and think, oh, it'll go away. He hasn't got a house, well, it's nothing to do with me. I'm sure he'll sort that out. But they won't sort that out.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because we were talking about Lou Macari last week. He has got a massive, brilliant initiative up in Manchester area where he's put sheds in an airport forever. But what that has enabled people is to have an address. So documentation can be sent through, passports can be applied for, ID cards can be applied for, because you need a passport to get work as well, to show you're fit to work. I mean, not fit to work, but legally you're able to work in this country.
They're partly addressing, I mean, I suppose somewhere down the line today, that there's going to be more social housing, and that's going to be funded. And we have really taken our foot off the pedal there on that front. And it is an important, very, very... You know, people being landlords is not the important thing needed in this country. It's social housing available for working class people who can't afford to buy.
I didn't have an issue with Thatcher selling off the council stock. The issue I had, even then, was not replenishing it.
But we didn't realise. We were able to buy in 1984 or so our council house, and we thought it was a brilliant thing. It was incredible, but not for once did I think that they weren't replacing it.
And meanwhile, I was working on a red carpet a few weeks ago, and I was talking to the producer next to me. She was from up north, and she was looking for accommodation in London, and she'd been to see a place in Clapton that was a studio apartment. And when she said it was small, you could open the door, cook, and go to the toilet from the same spot. It was that small. £1,550 per month for a studio apartment. And she said, you actually walk around thinking, this isn't actually bad, because it includes whatever else is included. But that's what people are facing these days.
But I do think, Tim, you've raised a very interesting subject. I think that we need to look at a different way, what constitutes a house. For instance, for some people, more or less what you're talking about is all that they need. And if we were to able to supply, 10,000 of those, that would go a long way in alleviating the homeless problem.
Well, sea containers are being converted in Ealing Council, which is not that far from here, and you plonk them up, you reconfigure them, and they're perfectly usable for people with families as a starting spot to get on to the next stage. It's not a big thing.
I mean, for those who have nothing, it's just a space to call your own, isn't it? Claire, let's have a look at the Daily Express, shall we? And after the winter fuel U-turn, opening the door for potentially other ones.
Well, I really am quite a proponent of this, and I really hope she does, is do the U-turn for the family farm tax. I think most of our viewers and listeners will have watched or are watching at the moment Clarkson's Farm, which is fantastic.
Television.
Really, really brilliant. It's got warmth in it, it's got strength of character in it, but it's also got adversity. And it's getting through that adversity, given the fact you've always got the choice. And they bring up the mental health of farmers. So it's a very real, pertinent point, because there's a lot of young farmers and farmers alike that have just got no hope now. They feel hopeless. They're falling into despair because of this this levy on their IHT tax. They don't know where they're going to get the money from to do it. And they'll, you know, the proponents of it will say, oh, we'll give them 10 years to pay that back. We will enable them to pay that back, but it'll be a charge against the land and money that they don't actually have.
Yeah.
We also had that horrific case, was it the week just gone or the week before, of a farmer who'd already taken his own life. And the coroner said that it was down to, in part, the bringing in of this family farm tax. So, I mean, that's just the start of what we could potentially
Well, I come
here.
from a farming background. I grew up in, you know, with farmers around me, and I have a little place out in the countryside, and it's very easy to say, well, of course, you know, they have 1,000 acres and it's this and it's whatever. And there are very rich farmers out there, and Clarkson is probably a bad example because the inheritance of what he could have is a good way of him to buy a farm, because then he can pass the money on to his descendants. But there's many farmers out there that are not doing it for that reason, and they have 500 acres or 100 acres, and they're just making enough to survive from one year to the next. And if they know that when their elderly parent passes away, that they're saddled with huge debts before they've even started again, it's a no-brainer that they should really revisit this. Nobody's saying they're changing, but they're going to revisit it.
And then they'll say, why does nobody want to be a farmer anymore? There you are.
They want the land for solar panels, ditch net zero rubbish.
But, I mean, we're in such a dangerous world, aren't we, at the moment? What is more important than food security and putting
For
food
this
on our
country,
table?
yeah, absolutely. But, you know, the farmers are like, you know, motorists or people that are citizens that pay for their taxes, is because they're easily able to get hold of.
Tim, thank you very much indeed. Claire, we'll see you again in 40 minutes' time. Right now we go to Alex Deacon. Nice day ahead.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Warm and humid out there today. Hazy sunshine across much of the country, but we're keeping our eyes down to the southwest, with some thunderstorms likely later. Now, it's not completely dry today. We've got some showery rain across the far northwest of Scotland, certainly this morning, but that is tending to pull away. A bit misty and murky in parts of the south, particularly around the coasts. Any mist and fog inland, though, clearing pretty rapidly. And then, as I said, most places dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Light winds and higher temperatures than we've been used to for the past week or so. Temperatures getting into the mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 across parts of northern England. So pretty warm and humid feel. That's likely to last into this evening, but notice behind me the cloud is bubbling, the threat of thunderstorms approaching the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall by evening rush hour time. Most other places having a fine summer's evening, still pretty warm, pretty humid at this stage. The breeze picking up a little bit along some of these North Sea coasts, and still quite cloudy over the Northern Isles, but say for most it's going to be a fine evening until we turn down to the southwest and these thundery showers start to develop. Now, as always with summer thunderstorms, they will be hit and miss, but there's a chance of some pretty hefty downpours, quite a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in the southwest, but also some pulses of rain coming into Northern Ireland as well as southern parts of Wales overnight. So turning into quite a wet night, and for many quite a warm night as well, quite humid, quite uncomfortable for sleeping, certainly compared to many nights recently. And then Thursday's a real mishmash, this zone of heavier showers drifting northwards, fizzling out a little bit, but still the potential for some thunderstorms. Still quite a wet day for parts of mid and south Wales, Northern Ireland as well. Southwest England should turn a bit drier, and many eastern parts of England and Scotland stay dry and fine. Not as hot tomorrow, but still quite humid, with the breeze picking up in the east.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A74M is restricted northbound after junction 21 due to an incident causing delays. The M4 eastbound from junction 48 Hendy to junction 47 Penlegaya is closed for maintenance. The A14 eastbound in Cambridgeshire is closed between junctions 13 and 22 due to a collision. Northamptonshire's A14 westbound between junctions 22 and 13 Thrapston is also closed after an accident. And on the trains, London North Western replaces trains with buses between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I'm Nana Acquia. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Violence on the streets of Northern Ireland.
Anti-migrant riots have erupted for a second night in Ballymena and County Antrim after an alleged sexual assault.
As houses are set on fire and police officers are injured, when will the chaos stop?
It's a matter of hours until the Chancellor sets out all spending plans until the next election. Who will the winners and losers be? We'll reveal it right here on the programme.
Austria's worst shooting in modern history. The city of Graz holds a vigil after 11 people were killed in a horrific school shooting.
Those pictures of Los Angeles under curfew. The city is in lockdown as riots over President Trump's immigration policies continue, but he defends sending thousands of soldiers in at a cost of millions of dollars.
You would have had a horrible situation had I not sent them in. Horrible. You'd be reporting on a lot of death and a lot of destruction that's not going to take place.
Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner announces that rough sleeping will be decriminalised.
And Uber says that you can get a car, a driverless car, as early as next year. Would you get into one? No. We're debating if driver-free cars are the future or just scary.
Saves you having to add the tip at the end, I suppose. In the sport this morning, England outclassed by Senegal as they lose their first ever game to an African nation. Rory McIlroy hopes to get his stuff together. That's his words going into this weekend's US Open. And Emma Raducanu said she was very sharp as she raced into the second round at the Queen's Club.
Much warmer out there today. Temperatures rising along with the humidity. And that is a recipe for thunderstorms. We could see some lively downpours tonight and tomorrow. Join me later for a full forecast.
On this Wednesday morning, a very good morning to you. Thank you for your company, whoever you're watching or listening. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. I've just noticed I did 1 hour. No, you won't care about this. Any
I will.
men at the table this morning. I just did an hour of national television with no mascara on.
No.
Yeah. I've shocked myself. I thought something's off here. Something's really off. I've just nipped to the loo and gone, why do you look like you haven't slept a wink? No mascara. So you are. It's been fixed now. You'll be glad to know. You don't care, do you?
Oh, I wouldn't have noticed.
Would you not? I did. I
didn't notice.
What's wrong with me today? There you are. Sorted now.
Yeah, sorry.
You'll be glad to know.
Eamon went a whole hour without lipstick as well.
I did. I've done that before. I've gone 3 hours without mascara.
Really threw you as well, didn't it? Yeah. So there you go. That was the best of us.
I need some more girls on the team, and then you can relate. But no, first time I've done that. First time for everything.
OK. Just we'll be reflecting what's going on in Ballymena very shortly. There's been rioting again there overnight. These 2 houses have been burnt with petrol bomb attacks there and attacks on the police. So we'll be crossing there live. But before that, we're going to preview what the Chancellor plans to do today. And she's going to do a lot of talking. She'll deliver a much anticipated spending review in a few hours' time.
Yes, in a speech at Brighton's GMB conference yesterday, she claimed that the spending review will be about making working people better off by investing in growth.
This government is going for growth because that is the best way to create jobs, boost wages, lift people out of poverty and sustainably fund our schools and our hospitals and all the public services we rely on. And we're doing things differently.
So what she's going to do is to set out new budgets for the NHS, for the police, for other public services, while sectors including infrastructure will benefit, they reckon, from a £113 billion boost, but other departments can expect cuts.
Yes, that's despite ministers' efforts. We're actually hearing that late last night it was the Home Office that finally settled with Rachel Reeves, but was the last department to do so. The spending review will carry Labour to the next general election, making it even more crucial for Rachel Reeves. Well, joining us in the studio now is Deputy Editor of Spite, Fraser Myers. Good to see you, Fraser. And it is a reset opportunity, isn't it, for Rachel Reeves?
I think so. I think, she's come across as a bit miserly. The woman who's taken away your winter fuel allowance, the woman who's taxing the farmers. This is her chance to splash the cash, to show that she's spending on things that she will say are the priorities of the British people. I think the British people will make their judgment later on if they can bear to listen to the speech.
And who do we think the winners are going to be today?
Well, we know that the NHS is going to get a big boost. We know that Defence is going to get a big boost. It'll be interesting to see how the Home Office fares. As you said just then, they were the last department to agree. There's been lots of police out in the, senior police officers in the news saying that if we don't get extra money, we won't be able to solve crimes. Many people will be saying, well, you're not solving many crimes at the moment. And then there's actually, if you look at different papers, they'll tell you different things. So The Guardian says that education will be a big winner. The Telegraph says it will be a big loser. So let's see what Rachel Reeves comes up with.
But the fact is, and you use the term splash the cash, has she got money or has she not got money? If you've got no money, then don't spend any money. And it's not a question of, I think, pay the bills, pay what's owed to certain workers and environments and whatever, but there's no need to then go and spend money that you don't have to spend.
Well, I think they just want to be able to show that they're actually doing something, because I think the message that people have been getting from this government is, well, they promised change, but it feels like nothing is happening. So in a sort of narrative terms, I think it helps them to be able to say we're spending money on X, Y, Z. But you're right, Rachel Reeves is spending a lot of money that we don't have, not just on sort of capital projects. It makes complete sense to borrow lots of money for infrastructure that will pay off in the long run, but we are paying a lot, we are borrowing a lot for day-to-day spending.
Well, let's see how all of that adds up. Michael Simmons beside me here. Good to see you again, Michael. Michael is the economics editor from The Spectator. What do you think about any hand that Rachel Reeves has to deal here?
Well, I think the big question with the plan she'll set out today for the next 3 or 4 years is actually how many months they even last at all, because she thinks she's found this extra money for borrowing she's allowed to do on infrastructure and from, you know, tinkering around with her day-to-day spending. But it's all based on the assumption that the economy keeps growing sort of as well as it has in the last couple of months. But there's a lot of evidence now to suggest that's not going to be the case for the rest of the year. We saw terrible jobs figures yesterday, you know, of 100,000 jobs lost in a month. And I think if that turns out into weaker growth, if the sort of international borrowing costs stay high, then we might find ourselves come the autumn budget that all this money she promises today she can't actually deliver. So it's, you know, how long do these plans actually last?
Michael, I'm just sort of scratching my head here, and you did talk about those job figures yesterday, and the unemployment figure went up. Is she responsible for that, or is it the market's responsible for that?
I think on the jobs figures yesterday, it's specifically to do with decisions of the Chancellor. This is because of the £25 billion increase to employers' national insurance and then also the rise in the minimum wage. I mean, I think it's just basic economics. If you make it more expensive to hire people, then what are businesses going to do? They're going to stop replacing people when they leave and they're going to stop creating new jobs.
Fraser, is there hope to be found in the dozens of infrastructure projects that Michael's just been speaking about there, in the sense that there could be thousands of jobs to be had?
Well, all of these infrastructure announcements, I think, are very positive. You know, we do our infrastructure is crumbling, so there's been lots announced on nuclear energy, transport. The question is, you know, how quickly will they come into fruition? We still haven't seen the planning reforms that might make some of these infrastructure projects a bit less expensive and a bit quicker to approve. But many of these announcements are reheated. So many of the transport announcements were made under the Conservative government. Sizewell C, it's good to see that's getting more money, but again, that was announced by previous governments. So that's the question: is how quickly can these projects come to fruition? They're all very positive. That's what people want to see. It's what we need, and that will boost growth. But will they even emerge in this Parliament? Is a obvious question.
And also, Michael, I'm sure tomorrow the headlines are going to focus on cuts, and then there'll be talks about potential tax rises to come in the autumn. Do you think we should be expecting that?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I mean, the Chancellor and the Prime Minister have kept ruling out that they're not going to increase, you know, national insurance again and income tax again. But ultimately, this headroom against the self-imposed rules that she gives herself is so slim that any change to borrowing costs or any change to, you know, GDP forecasts means that's going to get even slimmer. And then come autumn, she's going to have to decide: does she undo what she does today and do more cuts, or does she raise taxes elsewhere? It's hard to think, you know, where you squeeze extra money if you're not looking at personal taxes. So I'm totally baffled by this. She seems to keep removing options and ruling things out, which is something I don't think she has to do and seems kind of unsensible and politically dangerous.
And is there enough money, Fraser, in terms of the government's manifesto pledges? I mean, the front page of the Times today is talking about the NHS, which we've said is going to be one of the big winners later on today, but saying even with that extra 30 billion, it's not going to be enough to tackle waiting lists.
Yeah, there's not going to be enough to tackle waiting lists. On the education front, that's another manifesto pledge that's going to be broken because there's not enough teachers, there's not enough money to hire the teachers that were promised. So there's going to be all kinds of, promises broken as a result.
Police numbers?
Police numbers again. Police have been some of the biggest, making some of the loudest noises against the spending review or in anticipation of the spending review. And it is going to feel for a lot of people like austerity light, because even though we are technically spending a lot more money, borrowing a lot more money, so much money is going on additional borrowing costs and on additional wages for public sector workers. So that money might not necessarily translate into a better feeling for people or into more efficient services, and that's what people are going to notice.
Michael, the health service always gets me, is that great dilemma. Doesn't matter how much money you throw at it, it's a bottomless pit, and you'll never get any thanks for sorting it out. I mean, people don't want to see patients in corridors. There's certain things that you could superficially say, well, let's not have that. That's not going to happen anymore. But as regards making any sort of indent into people's health and way of life, forget it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's totally hopeless. And in a way, I feel sorry for the government on this, because the NHS is our national religion now. You know, you cannot do any serious reform to it, because there would be riots. Even with all this investment that it's had over the years, you know, record amounts of money going into it. There's this horrible study recently that showed even with hiring, you know, more consultants and more doctors, productivity within the health service actually went flat. So it seems that nothing changes. But just because it's such a visible thing, you know, the government cannot have footage of people in corridors. It will just always soak up this money. It's going to get 60% of the cash announced today.
Well, look, lots for you to get your teeth into when you come back after 8 o'clock. Fraser, thank you very much indeed as well. We're going to bring you the weather update, because we were getting quite excited. It's going to be quite a nice day.
We're going to treat ourselves, aren't we? We're going to sit in the garden today. 25 degrees in some parts of the country. Alex Deacon's got all the details for you.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Warm and humid out there today. Hazy sunshine across much of the country, but we're keeping our eyes down to the southwest, with some thunderstorms likely later. Now, it's not completely dry today. We've got some showery rain across the far northwest of Scotland, certainly this morning, but that is tending to pull away. A bit misty and murky in parts of the south, particularly around the coasts. Any mist and fog inland, though, clearing pretty rapidly. And then, as I said, most places dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Light winds and higher temperatures than we've been used to for the past week or so. Temperatures getting into the mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 across parts of northern England. So pretty warm and humid feel. That's likely to last into this evening, but notice behind me the cloud is bubbling, the threat of thunderstorms approaching the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall by evening rush hour time. Most other places having a fine summer's evening, still pretty warm and pretty humid at this stage. The breeze picking up a little bit along some of these North Sea coasts, and still quite cloudy over the Northern Isles, but say for most it's going to be a fine evening until we turn down to the southwest and these thundery showers start to develop. Now, as always with summer thunderstorms, they will be hit and miss, but there's a chance of some pretty hefty downpours, quite a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in the southwest, but also some pulses of rain coming into Northern Ireland as well as southern parts of Wales overnight. So turning into quite a wet night, and for many quite a warm night as well, quite humid, quite uncomfortable for sleeping, certainly compared to many nights recently. And then Thursday's a real mishmash. This zone of heavier showers drifting northwards, fizzling out a little bit, but still the potential for some thunderstorms. Still quite a wet day for parts of mid and south Wales, Northern Ireland as well. Southwest England should turn a bit drier, and many eastern parts of England and Scotland stay dry and fine. Not as hot tomorrow, but still quite humid, with the breeze picking up in the east.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
I just want to bring you up to date about the racial disquiet in Northern Ireland and Ballymena in County Antrim. Protests again, second night in a row. 15 police officers injured, 4 houses set alight last night. Land Rovers attacked with petrol bombs and whatever. And that follows 2 14-year-old boys being charged with the attempted rape of a girl.
Yes, we don't know anything about the identity of those 2 14-year-olds, apart from the fact that their charges were read to them by a Romanian interpreter.
OK, let's go to our correspondent in Northern Ireland, Dougie Beattie, for us this morning. Dougie, right, so where are you today and what have you got to tell us?
Well, I'm actually standing in Cumber, not too far away from my own house, because I didn't get home till nearly 3 o'clock this morning. I was in Ballymena very late last night. That trouble went on to after 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was quite vicious, the rioting. It started in around about 8 o'clock in the evening with small scuffles, and then by 10 o'clock it was fully blown into full civil disturbance. The police brought water cannon in, they brought plastic bullets in, and cars were burnt, properties were set on fire, and this is all really now bubbling to the surface right throughout Northern Ireland. And the real point of this, Eamonn, is this is not localised. Last night the police were also having to deal with disturbances in Carrickfergus, Newtonabbey, North Belfast and some in West Belfast. And they, as you know, are all those disturbances take place to draw police resources out of the main riot in Ballymena. But the police don't know, is it going to be the main riot, or is the one in Carrickfergus, is the one in Newtonabbey? And so they stretch their resources. But the typical riot production was in place last night. There was 3 lines of police and full TSG, Tactical Support Group. So this morning we will expect to see lots of arrests, but it doesn't get to the bottom of why these riots are happening. And they're happening because there is massive foreign nationals being put into areas, mostly working class unionist areas, and they are feeling that their culture is being eroded, the rights of young women are being threatened, so they're taken to the streets. And last night I spoke with Paul Frew, the DUP MLA for Ballymena.
People are scared, people are frightened and people are angry, and I suppose I've been warning about the tensions rising in North Antrim and in particular Ballymena for some time now, and unfortunately those warnings have come true. It was with a heavy heart that this has happened in our own hometown.
Well, really what is at the back of all this is that there is groups here called mayors, and they are at length government bodies that place foreign nationals. You will have similar groups across the UK, and they've stopped using hotels so much, and they've now went to the domestic markets, and they're hiring houses off landlords, and some of these landlords are putting rents up on the people that are currently in them by £200 a month. Those people are having to be evicted, and then they're hiring to a much more profitable organisation that looks after immigrants. That means that there's a shortage of housing for the people of Ballymena in those areas, but it also means, Eamonn, that you get areas that are either Romas, they are Iraqis, they are Syrians, Ukrainians, whatever they are, those areas will come into that, and the people of Ballymena are saying enough. We haven't got the infrastructure for this. We want our laws, ironically, respected. And we want fairness for everyone involved. So the Chief Constable has a really bad problem in his hands today. Does he go take those arrests forward? It may inflame the situation in other parts. Politicians at this minute in time in Northern Ireland need to get round the table. It's the only thing that will stop this.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch and listen to your story, you telling the whole story there, Dougie, because this is not being covered. It's not in any of the newspapers today. Other news programmes aren't dealing with this at all. If this was in Darlington and Burnley and Bradford, whatever, this would be national news. Riots. You're talking about riots in Carrickfergus, in Belfast, in Ballymena here and whatever. This is a serious problem. And the nuances, I know sometimes go amiss with people, but the fact that they affect certain areas, whether those areas are loyalist or nationalist, whether they're Protestant, whether they're Catholic, and these people, it's just quite obvious that culturally these people are not a fit.
No, and Eamonn, we have had enough problems in Northern Ireland with people who are Christians, Protestants and Catholics. For 3 decades they fought with each other. What's happening now is people are coming across, and you may have Sunnis, you may have Shias. They're being put in the same area. That's happening in Dublin. They're fighting with one another before it even gets out into the indigenous population. You have Romas who are Romanian Romas, then you have Romas that are Bulgarian Romas, you have Albanians, all of the same clique, but they're now fighting through one another. There's organised crime in amongst those areas, and that's spilling out into society that has been there for generations. It is really hitting hard, and it's only coming to the fore in Northern Ireland, because you've got to remember, Eamonn, there is only 2 million of us in Northern Ireland. So if you start putting in lots and lots of foreign nationals, it changes the culture, it changes the actual society itself, and people are now very frightened of where society is going. And strangely enough, As you are aware, the channel's aware, I spent a lot of time in the Republic of Ireland, where they are facing huge problems with immigration. And last night, people were phoning me from the Republic saying, I hope they don't put them out and push them back across the border towards us, because all of this has got much worse since the Rwanda plan was done away with, because most of the immigrants were leaving Northern Ireland and going into the Republic. That has started to come back in waves since July last year, and now they're settling in working class areas, and it's a very sad thing to watch in amongst society.
A break off from you there. Really appreciate you bringing us that story. I know you're going to be back later in the programme, and we'll gauge reaction and put that to you later. So thank you very much indeed for that.
Yes,
so
thanks, Chuggy. And
terrible.
stay safe as well, because he was right in the heart of all the unrest and the riots last night, reporting for us here.
But you just look at this country, you stand back, and whatever Rachel Reeves going to mouth on about today, these are the issues. These are the issues that are affecting people. They're affecting people's pocket. They're affecting people's sociability, all sorts of things. And we're not doing anything about it. Nobody is doing anything about the migrant situation, or they're not doing anything effective. They can talk about they'll do this and they'll do that, but they're not doing anything. And that is how bad it is. There is no border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. These people can get into the Republic of Ireland, which is the European Union, and then they can get into the UK by just going to Northern Ireland, and then who knows where they'll end up after this. It is a disaster.
And it's an issue that matters to people, isn't it? I mean, it's the number one issue at the election box for many, many people. We've seen unrest in the Republic. We've seen unrest now in Northern Ireland. We're seeing unrest in LA, aren't we? That's about migration too. It matters all around the world. Do keep your views coming in on that story, gbnews.com/you'll say. And talking about Los Angeles, the mayor of the city has imposed a curfew in response to the rioting and vandalism on the streets there. It came into force at 8 p.m. last night. It continues until 6 a.m. this morning. It could go on for days. That's according to the mayor.
Prime Minister has promised £5 million in funding a memorial garden to honour the Southport victims, though the price of it isn't important, it's the token. Yesterday, Sir Keir Starmer spoke to the families of B.B. King, Elsie Duff Stancombe and Alice Aguirre in Downing Street. The garden will reflect the girls' shared love of dance and of music.
Sadiq Khan has formally become Sir Sadiq Khan. He's received his knighthood from the King. The mayor was recognised in the New Year's honours list for his political and public service. He's the first mayor of London to receive the honour.
Great British giveaway. It's our biggest one to date, and it could be yours.
It's our biggest cash prize to date, and you could win it. £54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
£54,321 could make you our biggest cash winner to date. For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're just getting such a reaction response to the immigration situation, and we're talking about how it's relating to Ireland. We're going to talk about that next, because it seems people are boiling over. They seem to have had enough. Talking about that next.
Hi,
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's time now to go through all the latest sports news. Paul Coit, who's here with us. Morning.
Hello. I'll try and be bright about it, but can't really. England played Senegal last night.
It's not
lost
good.
3-1. I mean, I did kind of warn you yesterday, didn't I?
You did. You said they were quite strong, but still never heard of them. And, you know, it's not a... Well, the fact that an English national team has never lost to an African nation.
Yeah. Which really, when you see how African football's come on, it is quite a surprise. But the fact it just wasn't good. And Thomas Tuchel, who's taken over as manager, of course, everybody wanted Gareth Southgate out, and now it's a matter of everybody's looking and thinking, is this the guy? We've got 1 year today until the World Cup.
It's his first defeat.
It's his first defeat. And he's going to experiment. You know, we've got to be honest about this. It is going to take time. There's only 4 games. I'm trying to look on the bright side of this. But the problem is that he was complaining yesterday when we played something of him saying, well, you know, when you play against these teams that they play this low block, which means that basically they sit back and it's very difficult to break them down. Senegal were completely the opposite, and we couldn't break them down either.
Yeah,
so anyway, so there you go.
And
so
they scored 3.
So next game is against Andorra. That's in September. So it's a game they should win, but performances have to improve.
Yes, absolutely. Should we talk about Arsenal women?
Yeah, this is interesting, actually, because when it comes to average gates in the WSL, the Women's Super League, obviously they're nowhere near the size of when you get Premier League games, but Arsenal are way out in front. They're getting huge numbers. So I've looked at some of the averages. Manchester United are averaging around 7,000, so are Man City. Liverpool slightly more. You've got Chelsea who are averaging 10,000 that are going to their games. But Arsenal average 28,000.
Did they give their tickets away? Or
no,
is there
they
an
don't.
incentive?
That's the thing. 28,000 30,000 for home games, and when it comes to like the bigger games, then they're getting like 50,000. So they're actually the first women's team that are going to play every home game now at the main stadium. So they're going to now play at the Emirates. So it just shows. I don't know what Arsenal have done. I mean, Arsenal they won the Champions League recently. Chelsea and Arsenal are the big two, but Arsenal by far, you know how difficult it is for me to say, but Arsenal far out in front when it comes to getting the crowds in to come and see them. So very successful. They're doing really, really well.
Very good. Emma Raducanu, she's through the second round of Queens.
She's looking good.
She's in the second round.
She's looking good.
I'll just leave it there.
Good.
She is looking good.
So what I've done is just taken the pin out and I've dropped the Emma Raducanu hand grenade in there, and I'll just stand away and see what happens.
She's looking good.
Ellie, there's no doubt she does look good.
Yeah.
She's in her whites yesterday as well.
Cristina Busca from Spain. She beat her 6-1, 6-2. She lost to her in Singapore. So she's looking all right. Yeah,
and didn't she do it in just over an hour?
Yeah. She said, you know, she was feeling very good.
Yeah.
Nothing
good on
injured.
Her.
Everything fine. Wins for Katie Boulter, Sunny Cartel and Heather Watson as well.
Very good. We're on the up, Emma. We're on the up.
Can I show you this baseball catch?
Yeah, please do.
This is something that happened right before I show you. Los Angeles Angels against the Oakland Athletics. And you know what it's like. You know, they're so good. They've got the glove. But some of these catches are spectacular. Have a look at this one. Denzel Clark from Oakland. Now, watch this.
Ooh.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? Look at that.
It almost went over the side.
So the ball is going down over the side. His hand goes down. He's nearly over the edge.
I mean, that's commitment, isn't it?
Look at that in slow motion.
Is that a cliff face or something behind him there?
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? There we go. I think it's Dover.
Oh,
there we are.
Well done, well
and
done.
Straight down over the edge. See, if it was in cricket and that was the boundary, that would have been 6. You wouldn't be able to catch it.
Yeah.
But even if it goes over the edge, get your hand down if you manage to catch it.
Still catch it, you're all right.
It looks better every time you see it.
It's so impressive.
And then he climbed up the cliff face afterwards without any crampons. I mean, what a talent he is. Very, very impressive.
Very good, very impressive. Whose birthday is it today?
Oh, yeah, do you want to play?
Yeah.
Okay, go on then, first one. So how about Sir Jackie Stewart? You know, Jackie is going to be knocking on. There we are. I thought that's the halcyon days with the sideburns of the sunglasses in the late 60s, early 70s, Ellie. Early 70s. So we say about 1970 by the look of that hat.
I'd say he's 80.
80?
82.
86.
We're being generous.
I saw him at Wimbledon last year.
Did you?
And I didn't actually have the nerve to go up to him, and I wanted to go and say hello.
He's a living legend, isn't he?
I know he is.
We should get him for the podcast.
Sir Jackie Stewart.
So we do, yeah.
Good. We'll have to brush up on our F1, though, won't we? I can talk about the sideburns, you talk about the racing.
Oh, but that's when racing was racing.
Cool.
Really dangerous.
Really dangerous.
Really dangerous, yeah.
But really glamorous. Right, another one?
Yeah.
This is Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz there. What do you reckon? How old is Kai Havertz?
26.
Chelsea and Arsenal. 26. Is the right answer. 26. I'll give it to you straight away.
Really?
Yeah, I'll give you away. I'll give you that one. You got 2 more?
Yep.
Well, hurry up.
OK.
Who's that? Pierce Brosnan.
That's Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie, the famous sporting legend Hugh Laurie there. How old are you in Hugh Laurie?
I'm at 60.
Yes, good.
4.
66.
Oh, do you know what? That was going to be my first guess.
Okay. And one more. I know you got annoyed at me once when we had a dead person on birthdays, but I'm going to do it again because it was such a great show. Jacques Cousteau.
Jacques Cousteau.
Do you remember the underwater world of Jacques Cousteau?
Yeah.
How old? If he was still alive today...
It'd be 110.
Which is not. 110. You're
105.
really good. 115. Jacques Cousteau on the Calypso and the red bobble hat.
But thanks, Paul. Thank you very much
Thanks,
indeed. Coming up, would you drink a beer made of what?
Quinoa.
Would you? That's the question.
No.
OK.
Would you?
I'm going to be talking about that right after this.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A14 eastbound between junctions 13 and 22 in Cambridgeshire is closed due to a collision, causing 30-minute delays. The A74M is restricted northbound after junction 21 due to an incident. The M4 eastbound is closed from junction 48 to 47 for maintenance, with diversions in place, allow extra travel time. And on the trains, cross-country industrial action could affect your journey today. And London North Western Railway is replacing trains with buses between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Getting a lot of feedback this morning on these migration riots that are in Northern Ireland. And we want to look, all this took place in Southern Ireland last year, this time about a year ago. So what is the latest situation there and what's the reaction, the latest reaction to all of this? Here's Kevin Myers. Good morning, Kevin. Kevin hiya, Kevin. Very good to see you. Kevin, the situation I was referring back to, what we knew and what we were reporting on a year ago in Southern Ireland. What has happened there? Have things calmed down, or is it still as volatile as it was this time last year?
No, things have calmed down. But the important thing to remember is that the riots at that time took everyone by surprise. One of the features of migration, such as we're seeing all over the world, Ellie, which you were referring to earlier on, is that these migrations of innocent people, for the most part, are feeding into local unrest. And wherever these eruptions occur, the causes are quite local, but the overall larger causes are international. So within Dublin, the terrible riots of last year, the ones you were referring to there, Eamonn, were in the city centre where the traditional communities have lived for scores of years without any immigration. And suddenly, immigrants from all over the world were arriving to take part in the Irish economic miracle and were able to price the locals out of the local housing market, which caused resentment. And so when you had an entirely random attack by a lunatic on some children, the locals erupted in the inchoate and idiotic violence in Dublin of the kind we've seen in Ballymena. Always there are local unhappinesses, insecurities, which are provoked into, not deliberately provoked, but they cause these disruptions and violence. And Ballymena is following the same pattern.
Yeah, but the same pattern, you know, as you say, it's been repeated everywhere. No one seems to be able to do anything about it. It's people who, however welcome they are or not welcome, they don't belong in those areas, and it's taking a lot of tolerance from people to accept them and integrate them. It's a difficult situation, and it doesn't look as though it's going to be solved anytime soon.
It is difficult. It is difficult because...
What would you say then, Kevin? Would you say, I mean, how do we deal with this? How will we ever be able to accept these people totally, or will it just take time?
I think we're going to have to ask very large questions about the way the state is being organised and the priorities that the politicians are giving to migration. It's quite clear in Britain and in Ireland that continued migration on the scale that we've seen over the recent years is unsustainable. Now, the people who make the decisions are not people who are affected by these migrations. They live in suburbs which are untroubled by large numbers of migrants. Ballymena has no power. The city centre of Dublin has no power. This is where you see the disturbances because people feel control of their own lives is passing from their communities to other communities, to the political elite and to migrants. I have to repeat again, these migrants are innocent. They are availing of opportunities which appear to them to give them opportunities personally they wouldn't have had anywhere else. So it is a decision-making at the centre which is causing these problems, and it's a failure of decision-making at the centre which makes these problems even worse. One of the issues that simply makes it further discussion is the resort to language like racism. Now, obviously, there's nobody here who approves of racism. But if you call somebody who's protesting about immigration a racist, then there isn't a discussion to be had. You can't have and must never have people throwing petrol bombs. And those people must go to jail. They have to. You can't have violence like that on the streets. And when you hear of Filipinos being attacked, which is what happened in Ballymena, Filipinos are the most innocent migrants you could possibly see in any society. They cause no trouble, they work hard, and they do jobs that no one is going to do for them in the communities which they are arriving in. So we are seeing the innocent being attacked by the angry, and it's up to decision makers at government level to prevent these collisions taking place.
And of course, the violence and the rioting is completely unacceptable. But at the heart of it, Kevin, there is legitimate concern, isn't there, about, and Jugi Beattie was referencing it earlier, about infrastructure, about housing, about getting doctor's appointments. And this has all happened very recently in terms of history. And we're looking now at the screen at those figures. Free housing to illegal migrants at just 7,000 in 2017, up to 33,000 illegal migrants being housed this year. I mean, this is happening on a large scale and relatively quickly as well.
It's a global issue. But the simple issue, which is I've been writing about repeatedly in Ireland over the last 20 years, is no government can plan for schools or housing or hospitals if those governments do not know how many people are going to be living in that society within 5 years. That's precisely what's happened in the Republic with its booming economy.
But Kevin, they make the decisions. They decide who comes into the country, who doesn't come into the country. They can make it, they can change it.
Well, you're right technically, but in the actual practical position is the European Court of Human Rights prevents governments controlling their borders. We've seen this in Kent, where people cross the English Channel to get into England, and by the European Court of Human Rights, they are obliged to stay. There can be no migrant policy if the law and the state is not allowed to protect itself.
Kevin,
and that's the same position in Ireland also.
Yeah, I've got to leave it. Thanks for summing that up and bringing us into the overall argument with what's going on in Ireland, Kevin. Appreciate, good hearing from you, and we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Now, do stay with us still to come. Claire Muldoon and Tim Vincent are here running through the papers with us. See you in just a moment, you two. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heat and humidity in Spain might just trigger one or two heavy thundery showers. Heat is also building in Italy. Sunny in Greece, not too hot here though, because the winds are coming down from the north. Very small chance of a heavy shower breaking out over Croatia, but generally the weather's set fair here. Inland over Italy, also potentially there may be one or two heavy downpours. It's fine, it's dry, it's sunny in the Canaries. That will continue for the next few days, and the temperatures in Rome sticking in the mid-30s into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we have found some peacocks, so we've been speaking to people today, hearing from them how much of a nuisance they say they are. It is a real mix though here. Some people saying that actually they're all right, they're part of the furniture of this village now. You can see this peacock here showing all of its feathers. I'm going to be very honest with you, we have just seen it attempt to mate the peahen that you can see behind it there. And this showing of feathers is part of the thing, what they do to try, part of the mating call here as well, to try and show all of the feathers off and everything like that. And there's a thing that they do train rattling as well. I wonder if Mr. Peacock might talk to us. Mr. Peacock, would you?
Come on, Jack. Come on, Jack. We need you to get involved.
I'm not sure.
This is
GB News, Jack
This is your big David Attenborough moment, Jack.
Any questions to say to the nuisance you might be causing people? Any response?
Although this feels a little bit intimate now, if there's a bit of a moment going on. It's all got a bit voyeuristic.
Very happy to talk to us so far this morning, but some residents of Tutbury here have spoken to us this morning. Take a listen to what they've told us about what they think about all these peacocks.
They've been here longer than I have, so I've lived in the house I live in at the top here 47 years. They've been there all that time, because they were from the castle to start with. The people at the castle used to have them, and they're just part of the village.
I hate them. When they do all that damage, it's heartbreaking, you know. Yeah, round them up and take them to a farm or a zoo, where they're supposed to be.
They're like the furniture. They should stay around here. You know, people just need to let them get on with what they are. They're nature's animals, and they deserve to live around here, don't they?
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I'm Nana Acquia. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We've got Tim Vincent, we've got Claire Muldoon, they've got the papers in front of them. Tell me now, are you concerned about these driverless cars, Tim, that are going to be put into operation in London by as early as next year?
Well, Uber is preparing to test fully self-driving taxis on London's roads for the first time. By 2026, I have an observation there that if you look at Elon Musk over the last 5 or 6 years, kept promising that there were going to be driverless cars. The norm in America, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'd be very surprised if by 2026 that's actually on the streets of London. I'm more intrigued, though, if they are driverless robotic cars, if they're still going to give you a review. You know, you get your 5 stars at the end if you were a good passenger. Who's going to review how good you are once you're in these cars?
Would you trust it? Would you take one?
I think
I would, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Really?
Would you, Claire?
I know, I'm a bit reticent.
I'm a bit nervous about it.
Yeah, accepting a driverless car.
I think what they do eventually is they'll take any joy out of driving that there is. You get you won't get in, you feel the smell, get the gear stick you know, I mean, a car is a great joyous thing to drive.
Yeah. I take no joy. It's awful.
What?
Such a chore.
Is that because
driving?
are you a good driver?
No, I'm a terrible
well, that's
driver.
why.
So maybe this could be a good thing for me.
I think it's
I
the
need to see the other
drivers
side of
that take the joy out of it sometimes.
Oh, I just think, can you imagine a glitch in the Matrix with a driverless car?
Oh,
what
I
on
know.
earth
You'd have
could
to hop
happen?
in the
Well, you
front
and I
seat.
live in Chiswick,
Yeah.
and the Chiswick High Road, like lots of high roads in many towns and villages.
Well, it's the bus
across...
lanes that's a problem with
But they've
Chiswick High
closed
Road.
all those down now, and if an ambulance goes down, there is carnage trying to get through to whoever they're needing to treat.
Or in King
So
Street,
it's
if a bus
dangerous.
tries to overtake a bus or anything else, you can't do it.
Well, Sadiq Khan got a knighthood for it, so there we go.
I don't know why that man got a knighthood. I really don't. It certainly wasn't services to London.
Well, what about... right, so we talked about driverless cars. What about doctorless surgeries? Robotic surgery, Tim.
Robotic surgery, and I find, you know, it wasn't a lead story, but it's amazing. Robotic surgery will become the default for common operations on the NHS over the next decade. 9 out of 10 of all keyhole operations will be performed this way. That's over
I think that's a tremendous thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
And I think I'd trust a robot more than I would a human hand.
Yeah, I think if you look beyond the story, there is still a trained surgeon overseeing the operation, but the actual precision of the cutting...
You trust a robot operating on your heart, but you wouldn't trust a driverless car.
I know, make it make sense. But I do think a surgeon could potentially be tired or distracted.
Yeah.
I don't know, changing the music or human error.
Ellie, it's their job, and they need to practice.
I know, but you'd imagine a robot would be more precise when it came to
also,
keyhole
with these
surgery.
massive backlogs, you could be doing these operations 24/7.
Oh, Tim.
3 a.m. in the morning, get your hernia sorted out. 4 o'clock in the morning, it's your knee done.
That's completely futile. You will still need the staff in to clear out the theatres, clean them rigorously, and then post-op and pre-op take care. You'll still need the
staff.
staff.
The hospitals don't close at 9, you know.
They don't, but
People
if
work in shift patterns now.
They should be able to do it anyway.
Absolutely, but I think this is amazing that this is going to happen, and it's not as if it isn't happening already.
Well, you're right, it is happening.
My laser eye surgery was done by a robot. And there was a surgeon stood over the machine.
So what's this? They'll lose their skills. They will lose their skills, and I think that's quite disturbing and quite concerning.
Greta Thunberg, deported from Israel, she says the world needs more angry young women like her.
No, Trump says that. Oh, yes, exactly, because Trump said she's just an angry old woman and a young woman, and I've said that on this programme about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was pilloried for it on social media. How dare I? I'm just the angry woman. No, she even says it now herself. How on earth this girl gets into photo opportunities the way she does and thinks she's doing anyone a favour, let alone the Palestinians that are being bombed at the moment by Israel? And honest to goodness me, if I was in a fight, I would not want her on my side, because all she does is minimise it and makes it all about her. Greta Thunberg is the puppet. It's the puppeteer that we need to address here, and the man in the room. And isn't it a tad ironic that she had to be airlifted out of where she was?
I wonder how she felt about being deported on a plane.
Same way she felt...
I think about Greta, she's a lightning rod for a lot of people out there that don't have a voice, and we are discussing her, and it brings it back to the subject matter, the why she's there. And I think she's doing a fantastic job, because you need people that are galvanising lots of other people.
She's not galvanising,
Well, I
she's
think she
separating.
Is. There's a lot of people out there that support her, and she puts a huge spotlight on a lot of things that need to be discussed that aren't going to be discussed otherwise. Mainly the fact that
she was taken out of school, Tim, and she went all around the world purporting net zero, all these false claims. She's put people into poverty, really, because of it.
Yeah.
She can't walk around the world, can she?
Claire, Tim, we're out of time with you, I'm afraid. We'll see you in the next hour. Here's your weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Warm and humid out there today. Hazy sunshine across much of the country, but we're keeping our eyes down to the southwest, with some thunderstorms likely later. Now, it's not completely dry today. We've got some showery rain across the far northwest of Scotland, certainly this morning, but that is tending to pull away. A bit misty and murky in parts of the south, particularly around the coasts. Any mist and fog inland, though, clearing pretty rapidly. And then, as I said, most places dry and bright with plenty of sunshine, light winds and higher temperatures than we've been used to for the past week or so. Temperatures getting into the mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 across parts of northern England. So pretty warm and humid feel. That's likely to last into this evening. But notice behind me, the cloud is bubbling, the threat of thunderstorms approaching the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall by evening rush hour time. Most other places having a fine summer's evening, still pretty warm, pretty humid at this stage. The breeze picking up a little bit along some of these North Sea coasts and still quite cloudy over the Northern Isles. But say for most, it's going to be a fine evening until we turn down to the southwest and these thundery showers start to develop. Now, as always with summer thunderstorms, they will be hit and miss, but there's a chance of some pretty hefty downpours, quite a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in the southwest, but also some pulses of rain coming into Northern Ireland as well as southern parts of Wales overnight. So turning into quite a wet night, and for many quite a warm night as well, quite humid, quite uncomfortable for sleeping, certainly compared to many nights recently. And then Thursday's a real mishmash. This zone of heavier showers drifting northwards, fizzling out a little bit, but still the potential for some thunderstorms. Still quite a wet day for parts of mid and south Wales, Northern Ireland as well. Southwest England should turn a bit drier, and many eastern parts of England and Scotland stay dry and fine. Not as hot tomorrow, but still quite.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A 74M northbound restrictions follow a road incident after junction 21, likely increasing journey times. The M4 eastbound from Hendy to Penlegire is closed for maintenance with diversions in place. A collision on the A14 eastbound between junction 13 Thrapston and junction 22 closes all lanes with delays until 12:15 this afternoon. The A14 westbound is similarly affected. Motorists should consider alternate routes, and on the trains, cross-country industrial action may impact journeys, while Greater Anglia passengers should expect disruptions between Norwich and Great Yarmouth and Lowestoft. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Just a matter of a couple of hours now until, or a few hours at least, until the Chancellor sets out all her spending plans until the next election.
Well, the Labour government is predicted to hand out big budgets for social housing and the NHS, but policing and Home Office funding to curb migration could come up short.
OK, we will reveal those. The Prime Minister has Prime Minister questions at midday. The Chancellor speaks right after that, live from the House.
People say that they want more investment in their areas. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, says that she wants to deliver renewal in people's everyday lives. Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor, though, says that this is spending today to tax tomorrow. We'll have reaction from here in Bolsover.
Violence on the streets of Northern Ireland. Anti-migrant riots erupt for the second night in Ballymena after an alleged sexual assault.
Another night of violence in Ballymena. Rioters using bricks, bottles, petrol bombs and fireworks, setting homes and businesses alight. The police are responding with baton charges, water cannon and plastic bullets. Politicians must now find an answer and a way forward.
Debating that, Austria's worst shooting in modern history. The city of Graz holds a vigil after 11 people murdered in an horrific school attack.
Uber announces that you can get a driverless car as early as next year. We're debating if driverless cars are the future. We're debating it in about 20 minutes' time.
I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
That's everything you can expect from Patrick Christie's tonight. The man himself will be here live in our studio 9:15 ahead of the launch of his extended programme, which is called Patrick Christie's Late Edition. This is Eamonn and Ellie's early edition that you're watching here this morning.
I'm going to do a lot more pointing as well. I'm going to do a lot more pointing. And in the sport this morning, England are outclassed by Senegal. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it to lose their first ever game against an African nation. England's cricketers fare a lot better with a record T20 score against the West Indies. And Rory McIlroy hopes to get his stuff together going into the weekend's US Open.
Much warmer out there today. Temperatures rising along with the humidity. And that is a recipe for thunderstorms. We could see some lively downpours tonight and tomorrow. Join me later for a full forecast.
Thank you, Alex. Here we are on this Wednesday morning. However you're watching, however you're listening, you're very welcome. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I'm just chuckling to myself, thinking if the three of us were in a driverless car, who would lose their nerve first?
Me.
Would you?
I'd be out the window.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think with the first thing you do, I think it's the thing you imagine that the doors are locked. It goes off and you go, oh, it's
not
going
good.
downhill.
Not good at all.
It's going to be safe. Surely it'd be safer though, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think there'd be quite a lot of why is it going this way? Why is it going right?
Yeah.
I would have
well,
gone
do
left
that in a
here.
cab anyway. What are you doing going the long way around for? I don't know. It would say, I'd tell you, if that was the Uber, though, you wouldn't have to do the tip, would you? So that would be all right, or do you still have to do the tip at the end?
No, they do very irritating things now. So you can often put a tip down for a driver for food delivery.
Yeah.
And then they'll text you 15 minutes after he's gone again and saying, did you like your driver? Would you like to give him a tip?
Yeah.
No, I didn't like him that much.
Yeah, I know, I'd rather
And you probably spent enough on the food anyway.
Yeah, why don't
you
Uber give him a tip? Why don't you pay him?
Why don't you pay him properly?
Yes, I spoke to someone the other day and they were going, I can't get an Uber because I don't think my rating is very good. And I've never looked at that.
I get very nervous about my rating.
I've never looked at that. So you get, for those that don't know, you get a rating, don't you, for how good a passenger you are, not so much how good a driver you are.
I'm on 4.77 stars.
So
and I do wonder why I'm not
what makes
5.
it good? What, because you tip well? Or you have a nice chat?
I'm timely and I'm polite. I don't know why I'm not 5 stars. Anyway.
Oh, neither do I. Missed 5 stars.
Watch it now. You need to have a look at your rating.
Yeah.
The top story this morning, the Chancellor will deliver her spending review in a few hours' time, around lunchtime. Yesterday, she said her focus would be on making working people better off.
This government is going for growth,
because that is the best way to create jobs, boost wages, lift people out of poverty and sustainably fund our schools and our hospitals and all the public services we rely on. And we're doing things differently.
Well, significant boost to funding for the NHS and transport services are expected, as well as £39 billion worth of funding for housing. But which areas could suffer budget cuts?
That is the question. To help answer questions like that, let's speak to the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Richard Fuller. Richard, good morning to you. Who do you think's not going to do so well out of all of this? Who's going to be scrapping for money?
Well, it's going to be taxpayers, I'm afraid, Eamonn, because you can't have something for nothing, and this Chancellor has already demonstrated that she hasn't really got a grip on the overall public finances. So, as welcome as today's announcements about investment will be, ultimately, this Chancellor is barrelling towards more and higher taxes again in the autumn, and so the main losers today are going to be taxpayers. Between departments, it all depends on what she does on the NHS. That is the large proportion of public spending, and she has an opportunity with this zero-based review to show that she's really serious about getting value for money for every penny of money she takes from taxpayers.
Yeah, it's very interesting that that's the nuance you bring up on that, Richard, because she talks about making working people better off, but you're going to be worse off because you're going to be taxed if you're a working person.
It was last year, remember, last year, Eamonn, was the biggest tax increase for a generation. That's put pressure on businesses, large and small. And you'll have many of your viewers this morning getting ready to go out to work, maybe already at work, and they're already feeling the pinch. And as families are making difficult decisions about where they spend money, they expect a Chancellor to make those same important decisions about value for money. So I'll be looking today to see, has this Chancellor really done the necessary work to avoid what the IFS say is a more than 50-50 chance that she'll be back in the autumn for higher taxes on the very people who watch your show?
In terms of the spending review later on today, though, we've already seen the return of the winter fuel allowance, haven't we? We're hearing about this increased NHS funding, the rise in defence spending as well. All of those, and the polls are suggesting in the papers today, all of those are popular policies. So what would you do differently?
Yes. Well, policies are always popular when you don't then put the other part and say, are you prepared to pay for it? It was interesting, just on a slightly different topic, Ellie, talking about net zero. Barclays did this interesting survey a year ago where they said, to households, are you in favour of net zero? Oh, yes, it's fantastic, fantastic. Will you pay for it? Oh, no, I won't pay a penny. And so what's important, if you want to be fiscally responsible, and that was the key message of Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor, last week, if you want to be fiscally responsible, you can't just talk about the nice things. You've also got to put everything into the context about what the country can afford. As we've seen around the world, the ability of governments to borrow money is getting smaller and smaller. And so today is an important test for the Chancellor. Is she taking the steps necessary, although she can talk about all the great things she wants to do with taxpayers' money, is she making sure that she doesn't have to come back in the autumn for additional taxes?
Do you know what the Mauritian government's doing with taxpayers' money? Taxpayers' money that we've paid them for the Chagos Islands. Apparently they're giving tax cuts to Mauritian people with the money that they've received from the UK.
Yeah, I thought the proposal from the government was supposed to get the UN on side, albeit at very significant cost to British taxpayers. Now, apparently, it doesn't have the UN on side, so we have this tremendous amount of money going out from taxpayers to Chagos that could be spent on our defence, could be spent on other things in this country. It looks like the government doesn't really know what it's doing on this deal and isn't winning friends anywhere in the world.
Can I ask you your thoughts on Britain sanctioning two Israeli ministers, this is the security minister in Israel and the finance minister in Israel, about their comments around Gaza? So they are banned from entering the UK, sanctions put on them as well. This significant break from Donald Trump and Washington, who have actually lifted sanctions on Israeli settlers. So is this something that you welcome?
Well, I think, whenever you have issues with an ally, you've got to choose the right channels and the right moments to do things publicly and do things privately. We do support the initiative taken by the British government yesterday, but we want to make sure that it works in practice. We can't tell the Israeli government what to do, but we can say as a good friend that where the government has overstepped the mark and take the actions necessary. And one of those is to sanction people who say outrageous things against Palestinian people. people and play a role potentially inciting further violence.
Yeah. Richard, I just would like your opinion on what's going on in Northern Ireland at the minute regards the migration riots that have been taking place over the past 2 nights. And this is in Belfast and Ballymena, areas around Belfast as well, where people are really angry about being displaced and crimes that the migrants in the area are being accused of. What I'm really getting at is, if this was happening in Bradford and Burnley and wherever, this would be leading all the news bulletins, but it's not. But these things do happen. What are we going to do about them? It seems to be the European Court of Human Rights is the thing that prevents anything being done about the problem. What is your take on the problem?
Well, the take on the problem right now is that the one measure that we had that could stop illegal migration into this country was the Rwanda system, and the government has got rid of that. That's taken a major tool out of the ability of the British government to demonstrate to the public that we are controlling our borders. That was the first thing. I think if the Conservatives were in office, we'd be pushing forward that. And as you mentioned, the ECHR may have a role on restricting that policy's effectiveness, and that's why Kemi Badenoch last week said that she wants a thorough review about what is the impact of the ECHR on issues such as migration, and importantly, if we want to leave the ECHR, what will be put in its place? We've got to have something that's British to replace it if we want to take that step. So we're doing the work to work out what is the role of the ECHR on these issues, because if we don't demonstrate that we have control over immigration, I wonder, I think your viewers wonder, how it's going to bleed into community relations and people feeling afraid, wherever they're from, about the fact that people who are quite extreme on either side taking actions that disrupt peace and tranquility for people.
OK, Richard, thank you for your time and trouble today. We've got to say goodbye to you. We'll leave you to be entertained by the mass choir that's behind you, making that dreadful noise there. Richard Fuller is the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Thank you very much.
Well, joining us down in the studio is economics editor for The Spectator, Michael Simmons. Good to see you, Michael. And interesting talking to Richard Fuller there about some of the popular policies that we already heard about, which is the return of the winter fuel allowance, increased funding for NHS and defence spending. He says, yes, they're popular until people are asked to pay for it through their tax rises.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I thought it was very interesting that when you asked him what he would do differently, he didn't really answer the question, which shows the bind that sort of Labour and the Tories are in on things like the NHS that are not just popular, but are just demanded by the people in the health service, by the public. I think the government feels that they don't have a choice but to pour more and more money in. And it sounds like the opposition don't really have a plan to kind of counter that either. They just say you should be fiscally responsible without saying what they would actually do in terms of where they would cut. Would they not give the NHS the same money?
And a lot of what we're going to hear today was actually campaigned for by the opposition. I mean, if we're looking at transport in the north and infrastructure projects in the north, that's levelling up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, going further than that, a lot of the stuff that she's already announced on money for places outside the southeast of England is not just stuff that the opposition campaigned for. It's plans that they made while they were in government. A lot of the money's the exact same. Some of the plans that they announced have been on the government website for 18 months. So it's clearly not, new Labour ideas.
Do you think that tax rises in the autumn are inevitable?
Yeah, I think probably so. The IFS is a think tank that looks at these things, says it's about 50-50. But given that we kind of expect the economy to slow down a bit in the second half of the year because of falling jobs and different things like that, I think the small amount of headroom she's got against her self-imposed fiscal rules will likely be eroded away. And she's announcing, some spending increases today. She doesn't want to have to cut those in, 3 or 4 months' time. So her only option then would be tax rises.
Right. Michael, good to get your thoughts this morning. Thank you so much for your company. Thank you. Well, we're joined now by GB News reporter Jack Carson, who's in Bolsover for us this morning. Morning to you, Jack.
Morning to you both. We're in Shirebrook in the Bolsover constituency this morning. All around us, including this monument you might be able to just see over my shoulder, is a reminder of this place's rich history with coal mining. There was a colliery here which produced one of the most productive coal mines in the entire country. Now, of course, with that industry gone in the early 1990s, these are the kind of places where, when Rachel Reeves says, and looking like she will set out today, that she wants to make people in communities across the country feel the improvement in their lives. These are the kind of places, with this market. Now, this market used to be much bigger than it is today, but because of different kind of things where people just... market traders here just don't feel like maybe they've been getting the benefit of having a market stall here. It has declined. But let's speak to Derek Glover, who calls himself the plant man. Derek, if we could just interrupt your conversation here. Sorry, Derek, this morning, the government are going to do their government spending review, looking like increases on things like defence spending, NHS. Do you think that's a good thing? What would you like to see the government spend more on to help improve your life?
NHS, all the way.
Why? Is it a struggle to get a doctor's appointment here? What's the situation for you?
If you want a doctor's appointment down here, you have to be poorly for about a fortnight before you even get to see anybody. So, and it's on a first come first basis. Up at our surgery, you ring up in the morning, and if you're lucky to get through, you can get an appointment that day, but not very often. So.
And one of the things that looks like that it's going to be changed is obviously later in the year the winter fuel allowance will be reinstated for a lot of pensioners. Do you think that U-turn that the government have made was a good decision?
Yes, I do. So, I mean, they're letting all these people in and they're getting everything, yet people what's paid into the system as old-day pensioners, they're getting nothing. So why is it so? They're spending millions of pounds a day. I know it's unfortunate for these people what's coming across, but isn't it time we were looking after our own?
Derek Glover, thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us those thoughts. We're going to be here in the Bolsover constituency all day speaking to people and finding out exactly what they think the priorities of the government should be as this spending review is set out a little bit later on today.
OK, Jack Carson there for us in Bolsover. Thank you very much indeed.
Let's cross now back again to Ballymena. Last night there in County Antrim, they have been rioting again. That's been over 2 nights. 15 police officers injured, vehicles, Land Rovers, houses set alight last night. All of this is about 2 14-year-old boys being charged with attempted rape of a girl. Their charges were read to them by a Romanian interpreter.
Well, Doogie Beattie was there for us last night. And what did you witness, Doogie?
Well, Ellie, I have covered many riots in my 30-odd years inside the media, and I can assure you that riot last night was right up there. Tactics being used there that I haven't seen in maybe a decade, especially the point, and this is the most sinister point of this, and it shows you the unrest that is here. We had what would be called minor disturbances in Newton Abbey, Carrickfergus, North Belfast and parts of West Belfast. And what that is designed to do, Ellie, is to stretch police resources, to take the likes of the TSG, the tactical support groups, out of Ballymena. It keeps the police guessing what's going to happen and where it's going to happen next. It's part of the reason I'm actually standing miles away, because I don't even know when this is going to happen or where it's going to happen. It'll happen sometime after 8 o'clock, I'm sure, if it happens this evening. And that shows organisation behind this unrest, and it shows it on a province-wide scale, which is even more disturbing because there has been such an influx of immigrants into Northern Ireland over the last 11 months because the Rwanda deal was taken off the table. Many of them then came from the Republic of Ireland back up into Northern Ireland, and last night I saw fireworks fired at the police, petrol bombs, stones, bricks, there was cars set alight, homes set alight, and it was all at the back of a very nice shopping centre. And it was going through my head, this could be up in flames within seconds if they don't get this under control. I've seen Land Rovers smash through burning barricades, and I also seen the tactics from the PSNI that were formerly used by the RUC of putting 3 rings around the rioters. So last night at about 1:30 we seen the drones going up, and what they were doing was watching where these rioters were dispersing to. On top of each of these Land Rovers there are very, very good, technically brilliant cameras that can see in low light, and this morning, there's no doubt about it, the PSNI will be examining those images that are taken out off those cameras, and they will be making arrests this morning. But the real problem for politicians here is what happens when you take these arrests. You might inflame the situation, and last night I spoke to Paul Frew, one of the MLAs from that area.
People are scared, people are frightened, and people are angry, and I suppose I've been warning about the tensions rising in North Antrim, and in particular Ballymena, for some time now, and unfortunately those warnings have come true. It was with a heavy heart that this has happened in our own hometown.
Well, you can hear from the politicians are going to have to sort this out, and they're going to have to stand by their words to the people, because people do not trust politicians anymore.
Thank you, Dougie. Appreciate your take on things. We've been touching in and out of this throughout the programme this morning. Big reaction from you as regards that. Still to come.
Are driverless cars the future? We're going to be debating that in just a moment. Would you trust them? Let us know what you think. We'll be talking about that next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
French authorities first seized the Lady T, and that's an Eastbourne-based fishing vessel. And next, they fined its skipper, Philip Edwards, €30,000 to release his boat. Now, the Lady T, operating legally under UK jurisdiction, was intercepted by a French patrol ship near the Somme Bay. Now, the incident has sparked massive outrage among British fishermen and is renewing calls for the government to stand firm against French overreach in national waters. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joining with Charlotte Edwards, who's the husband. Philip is the skipper of the Lady T and is out fishing right now. Charlotte, welcome to the show. I've got to say, here at GB News, we are hugely supportive and appreciative of British fishermen and fisherwomen. Do a fantastic job. So if you're nervous about the interview, please don't be. I want to ask you how on earth this happened. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, for example, that the Lady T didn't have the correct paperwork, it was fishing illegally, and the French decided to pounce. What's the reality?
The paperwork just slipped through. It was an admin error. The other 2 boats had the permits, and unfortunately, his didn't at the time. He wasn't in as far in as they said he was. He was about 800 metres in their water. He wasn't near the 12-mile.
He was intercepted by the Pluvier. That's a French Navy ship. You know, by the way, the sort of French Navy ships that just seem to give an escort to illegal dinghies coming into British waters, suddenly pouncing into action. The only boat they've managed to stop seems to be the Lady T.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, we're about to have a debate about driverless cars, which I think all of you are going to have lots of opinions on. But before we get into that, let's have a look at the weather with Alex Deacon, because we're set for a lovely day today, weather-wise.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Warm and humid out there today, hazy sunshine across much of the country, but we're keeping our eyes down to the southwest with some thunderstorms likely later. Now, it's not completely dry today. We've got some showery rain across the far northwest of Scotland, certainly this morning, but that is tending to pull away. A bit misty and murky in parts of the south, particularly around the coasts. Any mist and fog inland, though, clearing pretty rapidly. And then, as I said, most places dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Light winds and higher temperatures than we've been used to for the past week or so. Temperatures getting into the mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 across parts of northern England. So pretty warm and humid feel. That's likely to last into this evening, but notice behind me the cloud is bubbling, the threat of thunderstorms approaching the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall by evening rush hour time. Most other places having a fine summer's evening, still pretty warm, pretty humid at this stage. The breeze picking up a little bit along some of these North Sea coasts and still quite cloudy over the Northern Isles, but say for most it's going to be a fine evening until we turn down to the southwest and these thundery showers start to develop. Now, as always with summer thunderstorms, they will be hit and miss, but there's a chance of some pretty hefty downpours, quite a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in the southwest, but also some pulses of rain coming into Northern Ireland as well as southern parts of Wales overnight. So turning into quite a wet night, and for many quite a warm night as well, quite humid, quite uncomfortable for sleeping, certainly compared to many nights recently. And then Thursday's a real mishmash. This zone of heavier showers drifting northwards, fizzling out a little bit, but still the potential for some thunderstorms. Still quite a wet day for parts of mid and south Wales, Northern Ireland as well. Southwest England should turn a bit drier, and many eastern parts of England and Scotland stay dry and fine. Not as hot tomorrow, but still quite humid, with the breeze picking up in the east.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, I've got some breaking news for you in the past few moments. And Elon Musk has apologised for his recent tweets regarding Donald Trump.
Yeah, in his latest post, he admitted his comments went too far. It comes following his exit from the Trump administration and his dodge role.
Yeah. There's been disagreement between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, shall we say, which then became a war of words between the two of them. But Elon Musk now saying it's gone too far and he regrets some of those tweets. We'll have more on that for you throughout the programme.
Right, have you ever jumped into a taxi and thought, would I still do this if it was driverless? Well, your wish could come true because Uber is introducing driver-free cars and they're going to be in London next year.
So, we're asking this morning, would you really trust a completely driverless car? And are they the future? Well, joining us now is motoring journalist Quentin Wilson and political commentator David Moore. Good to see you this morning, gentlemen. Quentin, let's start with you. Would you trust a driverless car?
It's a good question, and we'll have to wait until the technology really does get up to speed. But they are all over the world now. I mean, China just released 16,000 licenses for driverless pilots. They've got driverless HGVs over there. We've got them in America. We've got them in Japan, UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. They are here and they are happening. I think consumers will need to trust them, and that will take some time. But the biggest bounty of driverless cars is that the thousands of lives they will save, because technically they will be better than humans at driving.
That's the thing, I suppose, David. I mean, machines are less likely to make mistakes, are they not?
Well, this is exactly the point. This is a really dangerous precedent we're seeing here. We're telling people to just give up on the driving wheel, tell the taxi drivers to lose their jobs, all for the sake of AI. AI and assist systems are supposed to help us and assist us, not to take over our lives. Imagine the regulations involved, the government regulations that will restrict people's movements. tell them where they can and can't go. This is a slippery slope, not just for regulations, but for driver safety as well. Let people have the joy of driving, the road trips, the taxi drivers that assist us to where we need to go, instead of letting this frankly ridiculous direction go forward.
David, you hit upon a lovely word there, joy. And I think you and Quentin, sure, you have to agree with this as a car lover, as a car enthusiast. They're taking the joy away from being behind that steering wheel.
But nobody's going to force people to drive in driverless cars, Eamonn. We'll all be driving our own cars if we want to. But you've got to remember there's a huge body of people out there now who don't drive. Younger people aren't learning to drive. Older people get intimidated by the roads. And for them, this is a really important thing. And look, we mustn't stop the march of technology because we think it erodes our freedom. This will create lots more jobs and lots more economic activity. And that really, really important critical issue about saving lives is why we need to develop this technology like other countries, because if we don't, we get left behind.
David?
Technology has to respect the right of individuals. And ultimately, the march of technology shouldn't be this authoritarian march where our individual rights are infringed upon. And not just individual rights, but the rights of businesses. We're talking London black cab drivers are just being told, OK, well, your time's up, time for driverless vehicles. This is going to affect our culture. It's going to affect our rights. And like I say, it's the joy of driving. Let's keep it.
Gosh, I'm just thinking, Quentin, what must it be like? You get into that car, you open the door, you sit down, there's no one else there. Do you speak into a microphone? Do you press a button as to where you go? Is it all pre-arranged in advance? Can you then change anything if you wanted to on the way? Can you have a debate about, no, you shouldn't go down this street, you can go straight on here, whatever? Culturally, it'll be hugely different for us.
Look, don't worry, those wonderful black cab drivers for whom I have a boundless respect will carry on ferrying us all over London for years and years and years. This isn't, and I think it's really important to stress this isn't something that's compulsory. It's a technological move forward. It will help us as a society, but we will all be able to drive our cars and change gear and do all those brum brum noises for the 50 years.
OK, gentlemen, thank you both very, very much indeed. Vav vroom.
Thank you, you too. Now, if you're in the car and travelling to work or school this morning, here's your traffic and travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A14 eastbound between Junction 13 Thrapston and Junction 22 is closed due to a collision, causing detours and delays. In Northamptonshire, the A14 westbound is similarly affected. The A63 westbound in East Riding of Yorkshire has minor lane closures due to a vehicle breakdown. The M4 is fully closed eastbound from Junction 48 Hendy to Junction 47 Penlegire for maintenance with diversions. And on the trains, cross-country strike and disruptions between Norwich and Great Yarmouth on Greater Anglia impact services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit is with us looking ahead to the launch of the US Open tomorrow.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
A lot of reaction regarding the overnight riots in Northern Ireland, the migration riots. Sue says people resort to violence when they're not being listened to. Unacceptable as you may find it. Nobody in power who is capable of stopping this madness is listening. ECHR, rubbish. Take the sanctions and be in contempt in court because the fine would be cheaper than keeping the migrants. Fact, says Sue.
And Adrian says all MPs in Parliament have failed on illegal immigration. The Irish are showing us strongly they won't put up with it anymore.
8:37 is the time. We're counting you down to the best summer so far, and that could be £54,321 worth coming your way.
We're kick-starting summer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck to England for future internationals. A year to the World Cup and a defeat against African nation Senegal.
1 year
night.
today. Thomas Tuchel said that he wanted the team to play with a smile. I was watching with like this. It's more a grimace than a smile. So it wasn't great. They lost 3-1. Senegal played very well. England did not play very well at all.
Now, why was that?
It just wasn't good. And I don't know whether it's Thomas Tuchel is trying a few little things, maybe we'll do this, because he made 10 changes from the last game against Andorra, which was a few days before.
He was experimenting.
It's not experimental, and the thing is, you've got to get it right. You have a year until the World Cup. There's only so many games, but it should be better when you have players of that quality. It's the same old thing we've known for a long time, but it wasn't good. So Senegal were much better, and they're no slouches, as we mentioned yesterday. They are number 19 in the rankings, and we played like we were like 119. But anyway, cricket was better. Swashbuckling best for England. 6 games as captain Harry Brook, and they've won 6. It's the second highest T20 score by an England team. And we get this 15 sixes, 18 fours, 248 for 3. It's the joint highest T20 score that the country has ever seen. 459 runs in the whole game, which is the highest scoring T20 in England. So that was a lot more entertaining. So if you're going to watch any sport, the cricket was better than the football was.
OK. New job for Nick Kyrgios.
Yeah, Nick Kyrgios. You know Nick Kyrgios.
Wimbledon?
You know this, the Australian...
He's the feisty one.
He is the feisty one. And Nick, who won't play at Wimbledon, he was a semi-finalist a few years ago, and then he was a pundit last year. The BBC got criticism last year for hiring him after he admitted assaulting an ex-girlfriend. That was all last year, and this year they've said no, he's not coming. But he was actually a very good pundit, I've got to say. I very much liked him as a pundit. And he's one of those...
That's good, because they can't do it both.
Do you remember, it was a couple of years ago when he was playing in the semi-final, when he accused a woman who was shouting out of being drunk in the crowd, and then she tried to sue him for saying, I wasn't. But anyway, he's the guy who said it's insanity to believe that humans built the pyramids. That's Nick Kyrgios. Camels that built the pyramids.
You may have a point there.
Well, it could do, It was, insanity is a bit strong.
Right, so it's the US Open tomorrow.
Playing at Oakmont in Pittsburgh, which is just a ridiculous course. And when I say ridiculous, it's because it's so difficult. Rory McIlroy was talking yesterday, and he said he had a practice round and he had a lot of trouble there. It's because it's like the sort of courses that we would probably play at, you know? It's like, it's all very well, because they get spoiled, don't they? I mean, it's like everything's cut beautifully, it's all lovely, but anyway, this is a couple of shots from the past. Now, they call it the Beast. They call the course the Beast. It's had 10 US Opens. Have a look at some of these. These are some of the professionals that have had very bad shots at Oakmont over the years. So look at this one. That should be simple, but no, straight back. See, it happens to the best of us. And for those golfers like me, obviously, Eamonn, you've never had a trouble from the tee, have you?
I thought that was phone footage of me playing.
No, look at this. That's boom, straight into there. But again, it's because of the lie, because of the grass they're hitting. Here's another good one here. But this is all the same course. This humbles the pros. It even humbles the pros. So it all gets underway tomorrow. It should be entertaining. So even if you don't like golf, it could be entertaining because it'll be more... Look at some of these. Look. Straight back there. This just looks like my funniest home videos, but it's not. These are all... Look at that one. That's what you call a shank, straight off to the right-hand side. Sam Snead, one of the greats, said, I put a dime down to mark my ball and the dime slipped away, and that's how fast the greens are.
Thank you, my friend.
Pleasure.
OK. Still to come, we've got Claire Muldoon and we've got Tim Vincent standing by to run through the newspapers today. Good morning, folks. After the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
The heat and humidity in Spain might just trigger one or two heavy thundery showers. Heat is also building in Italy. Sunny in Greece, not too hot here though, because the winds are coming down from the north. Very small chance of a heavy shower breaking out over Croatia, but generally the weather's set fair here. Inland over Italy, also potentially there may be one or two heavy downpours. It's fine, it's dry, it's sunny in the Canaries. That will continue for the next few days, and the temperatures in Rome sticking in the mid-30s into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Camilla Tominey. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
And Tom, look what I received this morning.
This is so sweet. Oh!
Isn't that cute? From one of our viewers and listeners. A little, I think it's homemade.
Shall I hold it up for
Yeah, you hold it up. And a little tiny matching hat as well, which is very cute. Goes up here. So there you go, a little matching hat.
Look
and
at
also
that.
a lovely little blanket as well. Wow. This is from Judith from Leeds, who wrote me a lovely little letter, and to Patrick as well, wishing us well, saying that she loves watching our shows, and I hope we enjoy this little outfit. So there you go.
It's like your little baby is with us already.
So yes, Judith, I hope you're watching, because thank you very much indeed. It's really sweet of you to send that to me. It took a little while to get to us, but we've got it this morning, so that's so cute.
It's incredible craftsmanship, actually.
I'll make sure to take a little picture when the baby arrives.
Are you sure your baby isn't going to be French?
It's something French around it. It's a good thing I like France, so there you go.
Oui, oui.
That's very cute indeed. I just thought I'd say thank you, because it was a really nice surprise this morning.
Yeah, no, it is actually really, really lovely. And it does, I mean...
To bring a tear to your eye, Tom.
Well, we haven't really...
Feeling very emotional.
I was going to say... We haven't really mentioned, you know, your pregnancy in a little while. And
yeah, after the big reveal. After the big reveal.
You're still with us for a few months more before your due date.
I have to depart, yes.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you've got me for a little longer. We'll see how it goes.
Marvellous
See how
stuff.
it goes. It'll be rolling me in. Before I leave this desk.
It'll be a GB baby.
GB News baby. GB baby.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We say hello, good morning and welcome to Claire Muldoon and Tim Vincent. And we're going to start with ball games, right? So this is the Times, Tim. And we all know these signs up in somebody's street would say no ball games, please, whatever. And the Children's Commissioner wants these banned.
Well, you know, it's a bit of a non-story, really, isn't it? You know, kids are not... Apparently, kids need to be encouraged to go outside and not be stuck on their tablets or their iPads for 12 hours a day. And these signs apparently are stopping them going out. I don't think that really is the case.
But
Most
it is
kids
the
can't
case. Oh, stop it, Tim. They can't... No, look, they need to be removed because kids are... We've got a childhood obesity crisis. Kids are not getting the exercise they need. And it's not only just the exercise that comes from team games. It's the ability to communicate. It's the ability to take turns.
No, I
it's
get
the
all
ability...
that, but you can still have a no ball game sign there. You can be...
There's too many of them.
I think there's a double-edged benefit if we have kids out on the streets, because what I was going to lead with on my story is that in the Times today, the amount of people that are forced to steal back their own cars, they're alerting the police to say that their car has been stolen. They have a tracker in there, and so we know exactly it's several streets away where this car is, and the police say, we can't do anything about it. So people are taking the law into their own hands, going with a tracker, dangerously, finding the car, clicking it open and stealing their cars back. So if we have kids on the street, they'll be able to at least witness these things.
Well, this happened to us. So when we first moved into our house, you remember this night, the car was stolen off the drive, literally the very first night that we moved into our house, and my other half tracked it, because it was a car that has a track on it, tracked it to a set of nearby garages, took a baseball bat, was not the wisest idea he's ever had, but fully prepared to break into this garage and steal his own car back. Happy
Because
to
the police
do so.
wouldn't do anything.
He'd rung the police, and the police said, well, here's your crime reference number, you can speak to your insurance. He said, well, I need a car to get to work, so I'll be going and getting my own car back, because I know where it is.
Yeah.
Went and did it, or tried to anyway. Couldn't get into the garages because they were all locked. And then rang the police and said, look, I'm outside this garage. Here's my car. It's inside. Let's go. And they said, no, we don't go near those garages.
What a ridiculous
They're fully aware
version of events.
That's what's happening inside those garages.
Meanwhile, you could leave your car parked outside your front door and have it scuffed and beaten to pulp by kids playing ball.
Yeah.
Oh, Eamonn.
Listen, I was that child. I know exactly what you're talking about here. We had a no ball game sign in our street and we weren't allowed to play and whatever, of course, we did play. But I think it was absolutely right, when you're old enough to then buy a car, you don't want anybody kicking ball near your car.
No, but that's part of the reason that you have to educate children when they are playing outside, that they can and they can't do things and they can take things too far. Take the ball off them then.
Yeah.
But at least they're out there playing, communicating and becoming better adults.
Nothing against that. I've nothing against that, but I think you can do both. You can have a sign saying no ball games. There's lots of things you can be doing outside.
And send them to the park.
Send them to the park if that was the case. But if there is no park, I mean, I would have spent 98% of the time.
And come in when the lights
in the
came
street,
on.
and come in when it was dark. Then.
And the sound of kids, and when you go to some nice parts of Europe, if you're sitting around having an aperitivo or then your supper and then some other drinks, the sound of kids is always there. It's a safe family environment. We want to get back to that. And we can't be back to that with punitive rules.
Imagine just taking what you said there and applying it to Britain. You could sit at night there and you could have some drinks in the street. It would look different.
Well, you can't
the rest
drink
of
in the
Europe,
street.
you take your kids with you. You know, there's no getting them to bed by 7 o'clock. They just come with you at whatever age, and you have a drink, and you have a bite to eat, and that's part and parcel. So they're not misbehaving because they're with you. In this country, you're farmed off. The kids go here, you go there. I want my rights to do this and have a drink. So those kids can go off, and those kids can make as much noise as they want because they have rights. That's the issue.
But that's changed recently, though. Don't you remember, just as a child, if your parents were in the pub, you'd just be asleep on the chair next to them. You wouldn't be taken home at 6 p.m. and put to bed.
Back at a crisp.
You just have to you'd be there till 11 p.m.
Claire, here's a situation about what you could actually call someone in a fit of banter or sarcasm or being somewhat serious about it. So a court has ruled that you cannot call a work colleague a weirdo.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, you wouldn't want to be rude to someone, would you really, Tim? But, you know, there's reasons why, you know, things trip off the tongue. You know, it's really easy for, you know, to be quite pejorative in terms of your usage of language in calling someone, oh, silly cow, or, you know,
well, what happens next,
weirdo,
though, isn't it? An eye roll will also suddenly be something that you're reprimanded.
I think there was a tribunal about that recently. That very thing.
Well, a friend of mine who works in an open plan office, not dissimilar to GB News, had a headache and asked one of their other work colleagues who was in charge of the first aid kit, could they have some Anadin or, you know, Nurofen? And they were given it. And several hours later, the headache was still there. So he rang her up in the office and said, look, can I have some more tablets? And she was a bit of a taskmaster and said, look, on the back of it here, it says you can't have the tablets for another 4 hours. So you've got 3 hours and 15... You've got to wait another 15 minutes. Give me a ring then. He put the phone down and mouthed to himself, silly cow. And the phone rang again, and she said, I can lip read, you know. Because she'd seen it across in the open plan office. So you can't say anything or even mouth anything.
But that's no... I don't think...
What's the point of, you know...
That's really not very helpful.
Office banter.
Is it? Well, exactly. But even... Not even saying the banter word that everyone tries to use, you know, as whatever. Why are we constantly having to readdress, think about what we're going to say beforehand? It doesn't lead to a very natural environment, does it? And also, where's the resilience now? I might not like you, you might not like me, but you don't need to call me the names you called me out there, Tim.
Because, well, actually, the first thing you said this morning was you commented on my rather lovely new shirt that I had on.
Yeah, on the golf course.
That's office banter, you know, you can have a little bit of fun with it. I think it's down to the rights of the individual. You have one person that's upset, so everybody has to kowtow and nobody is allowed to say anything in case somebody gets upset. And the other problem is HR is now the witchfinder general. They come in to tell you what. They should be there to guide you if there's an issue and there's a problem. Listen, you shouldn't say that. Let's move on. But now it's like you're straight in.
HR are there for management. They're not there for the worker.
No,
yeah,
you're right.
And when they say,
right.
"Can you tell us what you have problems about in your office?" Don't say anything.
No, don't even roll your eye.
Yeah,
they want us sanitised.
Yeah.
Infantilised and just homogenised. Everything has to be the same.
I remember being called into in Sky News, and you were given this yearly assessment, and they sit you down and they go, "What are your weak points?" And I looked at this and I thought, well, this is going nowhere. And I thought, I said, I don't have any weak points. You have no weak points? Nope. No, I'm the best there is at what I do. Yeah, I can't. No weak points at all. Imagine if I sat and said, I'm late in the morning, I don't read the papers, I do whatever. That would all be used against you, would you think?
Absolutely.
I may have weak points, but I'm not blooming stupid.
You have to say something clever like, I think I work too hard. I exhaust myself.
My weaknesses are that I know what they are, and that's my strength.
Well, thank you for your strength today, both of you. Very, very enjoyable. We'll do it again sometime. Let's not get the weather on a good day. Here's Alex.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Warm and humid out there today. Hazy sunshine across much of the country, but we're keeping our eyes down to the southwest, with some thunderstorms likely later. Now, it's not completely dry today. We've got some showery rain across the far northwest of Scotland, certainly this morning, but that is tending to pull away. A bit misty and murky in parts of the south, particularly around the coasts. Any mist and fog inland, though, clearing pretty rapidly. And then, as I said, most places dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Light winds and higher temperatures than we've been used to for the past week or so. Temperatures getting into the mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 across parts of northern England. So pretty warm and humid feel. That's likely to last into this evening, but notice behind me the cloud is bubbling, the threat of thunderstorms approaching the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall by evening rush hour time. Most other places having a fine summer's evening, still pretty warm, pretty humid at this stage. The breeze picking up a little bit along some of these North Sea coasts and still quite cloudy over the Northern Isles, but say for most it's going to be a fine evening until we turn down to the southwest and these thundery showers start to develop. Now, as always with summer thunderstorms, they will be hit and miss, but there's a chance of some pretty hefty downpours, quite a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in the southwest, but also some pulses of rain coming into Northern Ireland as well as southern parts of Wales overnight. So turning into quite a wet night, and for many quite a warm night as well, quite humid, quite uncomfortable for sleeping, certainly compared to many nights recently. And then Thursday's a real mishmash. This zone of heavier showers drifting northwards, fizzling out a little bit, but still the potential for some thunderstorms. Still quite a wet day for parts of mid and south Wales, Northern Ireland as well. Southwest England should turn a bit drier, and many eastern parts of England and Scotland stay dry and fine. Not as hot tomorrow, but still quite humid, with the breeze picking up in the east.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Traffic disruptions affect various routes. The M4 eastbound is closed from junction 48 at Hendy to Penlegar for maintenance, with diversions. In Leeds, congestion impacts the M62 westbound exit slip at junction 28, resolving by 9:15. In Staffordshire, the A50 eastbound between the A522 and A518 Uttoxeter East faces a 20-minute delay due to congestion. In Cambridgeshire, a collision shuts all lanes on the A14 eastbound, causing 50-minute delays. And on the trains, cross-country industrial action and Greater Anglia disruptions may impact travel. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Just a couple of hours to go until the Chancellor sets out all spending plans until the next election.
Labour is predicted to hand out big budgets for social housing, the NHS, but could it all end in tax rises come the autumn? Earlier we spoke to the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. This is what he had to say.
Ultimately, this Chancellor is barrelling towards more and higher taxes again in the autumn, and so the main losers today are going to be taxpayers.
I'm here in Darlington, the charming market town in County Durham, where we'll be getting the views of real people to how the Chancellor will be sloshing the cash.
Here in Leigh, around half of its residents are facing deprivation. We'll be here all day speaking to local residents and businesses, finding out how they feel about Rachel Reeves' spending review.
Thank you, Sophie. Scenes there of violence on the streets of Northern Ireland. Anti-migrant riots have erupted for the second night in a row. Last night, mostly in Ballymena, after an alleged sexual assault.
Breaking news, another milestone reached on the small boat crisis. Mark White has the latest.
Well, we can confirm now that 15,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel so far this year. 35% of where we were at this point last year. We are on course for a record year of illegal crossings.
President Donald Trump announces immigration raids in 5 more cities, including New York, Chicago, Seattle, Philadelphia and Northern Virginia. But could it lead to more violent protests like we've seen in LA?
And in the last hour, Elon Musk has apologised to Donald Trump and admits some of his comments about the president went too far.
I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything.
Well, that's everything you can expect from Patrick Christie's Tonight, and the man himself is here after 9:15 this morning talking about the launch of his extended programme, Patrick Christie's Late Edition.
Much warmer out there today. Temperatures rising along with the humidity. And that is a recipe for thunderstorms. We could see some lively downpours tonight and tomorrow. Join me later for a full forecast.
On this Wednesday morning, a very good morning to you from us. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Just over 3 hours to go before the Chancellor delivers her spending review. Yesterday, she said her focus is on making working people better off.
This government is going for growth because that is the best way to create jobs, boost wages, lift people out of poverty and sustainably fund our schools and our hospitals and all the public services we rely on. And we're doing things differently.
Well, we can expect significant boosts to funding for the NHS and transport services, as well as £39 billion for housing. But which areas could suffer budget cuts?
OK, let's go to Tom Harwood. He's out and about, and he'll have a few ideas about which businesses we're talking about. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Eamonn. Yes, I'm delighted to be joined here in the historic market town of Darlington by Rob Ord, who's the assistant manager of the market hall here. And Rob, how has business been for all the businesses that trade here at the market?
Yeah, this year has definitely been a slower year than usual. A lot less footfall across Darlington and presume other towns around the UK. We're still going though. I know a lot of the traders inside. We're still there. We're still going to be trading every day, and we're definitely, hopefully, soon footfall will increase. But we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I know there have been a lot of concerns from people in business for the levels of tax, for the cost of energy. What do you think are the biggest pressures that all the traders in the building behind us are really facing at the moment?
Yeah, because of the lack of footfall, obviously sales have gone down, energy prices seem to be going up, and it's hard to keep going. We need to get more traders in, more people down, and then we can thrive, but at the minute we're struggling.
So what are you hoping that the Chancellor might say when she gets to her feet at around midday? Are there any specific policy asks, any tax cuts or areas of spending that you think the Chancellor should really be getting behind?
Because we're a lot of small businesses inside and we've got a lot of start-ups as well, we need things that can benefit new businesses as well as all of the small businesses inside. We're looking. We've had a redevelopment in the market recently, and we need new things that can increase the budget, increase business for small businesses and new businesses alike.
OK, well, Rob, thanks so much for speaking to us. Great to get the view here at Darlington Market. We'll be here, of course, throughout the morning, throughout the afternoon, getting reaction and pre-action. So do stay with us here on GB News.
OK,
Thanks,
Tom, thank you very much. Well, let's cross now to GB News national reporter Sophie Repos in Greater Manchester for us this morning. Morning to you, Sophie. And what are people hoping to hear from the Chancellor later on this morning?
I think, Ellie, they're going to be hoping to hear good news, particularly here on Lee Market. Now, this is an area which traditionally is very working class, very hard working. Here at Lee Market, people are going to be hoping for any kind of support possible. But of course, it's not that likely. We've heard that potentially there's going to be money for defence, the NHS, for education, but nothing really we've heard yet that's tailored towards small businesses that you would perhaps find here at Lee Market. So to talk a little bit about that, I'm joined now by the owner of this lovely stall here on Lee Market, Ray Nesbitt. Ray, I know you've been here for over 30 years now, haven't you? Talk to me about, first of all, we've seen the cost of living crisis in recent years. People just don't necessarily have that much money in their pockets, do they? How has that been affecting you?
Well, there's quite a lot of people that come and want to pay by card, but they don't realise that paying by card costs us extra money and the customer extra money. So 50% of the market is all cash only because it's easier to spend and you can add a few bob as well.
Now, one of the big things that we're expecting to hear from the Chancellor today is more money for the NHS. Would you welcome that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, anything like that would be superb, because of a lot of my friends who are getting old, like myself, they're all falling. And if they can help, it would be marvellous. But let's put it this way, when you go to Lee, when you go to Wigan, the people there do their best to try and help you.
But what about in terms of Lee Market? Obviously, we've spoken about the situation it finds itself in. What would you ask from the government in terms of support there, in terms of money?
Well, apparently the government have given quite a bit of money to Wigan. And that money is supposed to be for all the boroughs. And we've no idea what they're going to do, whether they're going to help us or not help us. They're supposed to be finding us a place when they close us down for 6 months. But a lot of people in here may not even come back, because 6 months is a long, long time.
Ray, thank you so much for joining us this morning. There we are. That is the situation for many markets, not just here in Lee, but across the northwest. So I think for them today, they'd be asking perhaps for a bit more support.
Yeah, and what will we do when they're all gone?
Yeah,
That's the
we'd
question.
miss them, that's for sure. Thanks, Sophie, for bringing that to us.
Some breaking news coming in. More than 15,000 small boat migrants have officially crossed the English Channel so far this year. Hundreds more attempting to cross as we speak this week.
Well, that's after a week of no arrivals due to poor weather conditions. Let's get the details with GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. And Mark, it looks as though we could be on course for a record-breaking year here.
Yes, and still they keep on coming. This morning, as you say, was the first arrivals for more than a week since that record day of arrivals when 1,195 arrived in a single day in 19 small boats. Now, I believe we've got some pictures we can show you shot by our Kent producer in his usual position on the cliffs overlooking Dover Harbour as those small boats arrived. Now, this is the Border Force vessel Volunteer. It picked up 2 small boat loads. Those 2 small boats, we're told, set off from the French coast at 1 a.m. this morning. They made it to UK waters just after 5 a.m. and then arrived in Dover Harbour at 6 a.m. Those migrants now being unloaded here off to that processing centre at Dover Harbour, then Manston for onward transmission clearly onto hotels and local authority accommodation. Now, what we understand is that the arrivals so far today take that total over 15,000 for the year. Now, that is a significant number in itself, but it's also 35% ahead of where we were at this time last year when 1,127 migrants had crossed the English Channel. And as we speak, there is another Border Force vessel heading into Dover Harbour, the Border Force vessel Typhoon, with another boatload and at least another 2 small boatloads out there in the Channel, making use of the fact that weather conditions have slightly improved in the English Channel from what they were for the past week. But it is a familiar pattern, I know, really infuriates our audience, of course it does, but it's important to keep documenting these milestones, and that is a significant milestone today of 15,000 small boat migrants who've crossed so far this year.
And they all have to be accommodated, Mark, and part of the news that we've been dealing with today is how they're being accommodated in Ireland and the reaction to them north and south off the border. But for every action, there is a reaction. And Mark White bringing you the very latest there of the migrants arriving in England.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, Patrick Christie's late edition. The man himself is discussing the extension to his show. That's next.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now we're counting down to your very best summer so far with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's that?
£54,321. That's our biggest tax-free cash grab ever on the Great British Giveaway.
It's our biggest cash prize to date, and you could win it. £54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
£54,321 could make you our biggest cash winner to date. For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you're watching GB News later in the evening, you'll have noticed a change to the schedules, and Patrick Christie's on an hour later. It's an extended show that he has, and it's a new show, and so far it's going down very well, and we're delighted to be able to talk to him this morning. We don't expect... Oh, you're dressed up as well.
Patrick, you're very good.
Yeah.
Look, he's back in his suit.
So the thing is, we didn't expect you to come in because you're going to have such a late night tonight, but appreciate you getting up and getting dressed.
Well, I actually just sleep in my suit, so sorry to show that illusion, but thank you very much. Hey, look, guys, thank you so much for squeezing me into your show this morning. I won't take up too much of your busy schedule, but I just want to alert you to a couple of things that we're doing later tonight. So on my 9 to 11 p.m. show, we believe that we have infiltrated a people smuggling gang, and we have evidence to prove that. I was just listening to your report there from Mark White, a record year in the channel, 100 sets across today. Well, we've got some pictures for you here of a human trafficker, we believe to be a human trafficker, providing us with evidence that he's got the boats, he's got the life jackets, and he's got the motors to get people across the channel. We then also exchanged WhatsApp messages with him, which confirmed that he indeed is planning to help, he thinks, us cross the English Channel and illegally get into Britain. And then he even sent us a location, which I think we can show you as well on a map, where one boat was set to meet anyway, and then the boat was obviously going to be taken to the shoreline earlier today. We've got loads more of this for you. The whole point here is that we also have personal WhatsApp phone numbers for the people that we believe are these human traffickers. We are going to hand all of this information over in the next few minutes to both the French authorities and the British authorities. And we think it's as easy as that, in a sense, to find out who these people are. If they can't act on that and track those phones and track who these people are and then do something about this, then frankly we might as well all pack up and go home. That's about the maximum that we can do at GB News when it comes to trying to smash a gang. The rest now is over to the authorities. So we're going to be giving you all the very latest detail on that later on. And look, as you very kindly mentioned, yes, there is a new show in town. It's 11 p.m. until midnight. It's Patrick Christie Tonight, late edition. It's a first look at all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. We're going to also have a look at what's going on inside the book as well. We're going to be having a look at some of the regional papers, so people can feel as though their town or their city might pop up on the national news, which is always a very nice thing. And of course, we'll be doing the breaking news as well, as and when that arrives, like last night in Northern Ireland. Fantastic report from Doogie Beattie. And people don't need to worry. I know that people were a bit worried about what was going on with the Headliners gang, and I can confirm there'll be a member of Headliners on the show every single night as well. So there'll be mixtures of light and shade, but that is Patrick Christie Tonight, late edition, every weeknight, 11 p.m. until midnight.
A lot of energy packed into that show, and that extra bit at the end. Patrick would like to say that. And also Dougie last night, and the fact that, you know, that this is happening in Ballymena, but if it was happening in Bradford, if it was happening in Bristol, there would be a whole different reaction to this, because the 15,000 migrants that we're talking about coming into the country have all got to be put somewhere. They've all got to be paid for. And I know you said you'll hand the info over, and if nothing's done, you may pack up and go. I suggest you start packing now, because nothing will be done, nothing can be done, and it's all due to this European Court of Human Rights. Surely the time has come, Patrick, for that to be reassessed, our role within that and what it is there for.
Well, look, if we can't clamp down on human traffickers, and if we can't deport people who come to Britain illegally, and also the other angle to it is if we can't stop people who are low-skilled, legal migrants from bringing their dependents with them, all because of the ECHR, then that is a massive problem. I think there's another big story as well, which I'm absolutely certain that you've probably already covered and will go on to cover, which ties into all of this. This government decided they're going to decriminalise rough sleeping. All right, it sounds nice in practice, don't get me wrong. I would never want to be homeless myself. However, what does this do in reality? Well, it encourages people who do want to come to Britain illegally to be able to line the streets, because they're not going to be picked up by police. It's an extra incentive to get to Britain. Yeah, really, I do think that there are serious concerns here, and there's a lot of middle-class left-wing people celebrating this tonight and all today, and I understand that, but I do wonder how they're going to feel when their streets in their lovely roads, their lovely leafy areas are lined with people that we don't know who they are or where they've come from, and they can't call the police and get them to move them on. So there's all a few stories rolled into one there, aren't there, I think?
Certainly is, Patrick. And I'm sure you're also going to be touching upon Rachel Reeves and the spending review and talking about Channel migrant arrivals. The Home Office, we understand, was the last to come up with an agreement with Rachel Reeves. I wonder what that will mean in terms of budget, in terms of smashing the gangs.
Yeah, well, indeed. I mean, there was those big rumours, weren't there, that Rachel Reeves and Yvette Cooper had a massive falling out and stopped talking to each other, and then the various different departments, the Treasury and the Home Office, had stopped taking each other's calls, which is never a good sign, is it? That was slightly countered by an interesting article on both pages 8 and 9 of The Sun today, which at the very bottom of it had a joint op-ed piece by both Rachel Reeves and Yvette Cooper. A little nod there, I think, to say, oh, look, we are really working together on this. But, you know, it's difficult to see how sustainable that is. I know that on GB News, I think it's at 12:30, isn't it, that Rachel Reeves takes to the floor today and delivers her spending review. So far, what we've seen in that, or what I've seen in that anyway, is huge amounts of spending commitments and absolutely no idea so far about how on earth we're going to pay for any of this. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But look, Rachel Reeves seems to have been losing out so far to pretty much everyone. She's lost out to Ed Miliband for starters as well. She's lost out over the two-child benefit cap. So will she lose out to the Home Office? We'll have to wait and see.
My friend, we've got to say bye to you. We wish you all the best again for your third programme tonight. Save your energy.
Patrick, on your extended show. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Patrick Christie's from 9 o'clock until midnight tonight. From 9:30, Britain's Newsroom, Andrew and Bev, good morning.
Good morning. Spending Review Day. Hurrah. Does that fill you with delight and excitement?
Probably not.
Well, it should.
Because it's very important, because it will set
important.
the priorities right up until the next general election.
Certainly will. Yeah, and how's it going to be paid for?
How it's going to be paid for. We won't know that until the budget.
Yeah.
But so all these priorities. But there's other stuff as well. Do you think we need a minister for play to tell parents how much time their children should be spending in the bedroom on their devices? For God's sake. Are parents not allowed to do anything anymore? How are they going to enforce it?
The thing is, if it genuinely is government thinking about children for once, I'm OK with that, because children get neglected and ignored so often by the government, and I am the biggest advocate for pushing back on a nanny state. But we're going to work out what it means. It's things like taking down the sign saying, don't play ball games here.
Yeah.
We need ball games.
It's ridiculous.
We had ball signs. We had all that.
Let's go to the weather.
Yeah. Oh.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Warm and humid out there today. Hazy sunshine across much of the country, but we're keeping our eyes down to the southwest, with some thunderstorms likely later. Now, it's not completely dry today. We've got some showery rain across the far northwest of Scotland, certainly this morning, but that is tending to pull away. A bit misty and murky in parts of the south, particularly around the coasts. Any mist and fog inland, though, clearing pretty rapidly. And then, as I said, most places dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Light winds and higher temperatures than we've been used to for the past week or so. Temperatures getting into the mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 across parts of northern England. So pretty warm and humid feel. That's likely to last into this evening, but notice behind me the cloud is bubbling, the threat of thunderstorms approaching the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall by evening rush hour time. Most other places having a fine summer's evening, still pretty warm and pretty humid at this stage. The breeze picking up a little bit along some of these North Sea coasts and still quite cloudy over the Northern Isles, but say for most it's going to be a fine evening until we turn down to the southwest and these thundery showers start to develop. Now, as always with summer thunderstorms, they will be hit and miss, but there's a chance of some pretty hefty downpours, quite a lot of lightning mixed in as well, especially in the southwest, but also some pulses of rain coming into Northern Ireland as well as southern parts of Wales overnight. So turning into quite a wet night, and for many quite a warm night as well, quite humid, quite uncomfortable for sleeping, certainly compared to many nights recently. And then Thursday's a real mishmash. This zone of heavier showers drifting northwards, fizzling out a little bit, but still the potential for some thunderstorms. Still quite a wet day for parts of mid and south Wales, Northern Ireland as well. Southwest England should turn a bit drier, and many eastern parts of England and Scotland stay dry and fine. Not as hot tomorrow, but still quite humid, with the breeze picking up in the east.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists on the eastbound M4 between junctions 48 and 47 will face diversions due to maintenance. In Blackburn with Darwin, the M65 eastbound at junction 5 is experiencing an incident, closing all lanes and causing over 30-minute delays. In Surrey, an incident on the M25 anti-clockwise between junction 6 and 5 has closed one of 4 lanes. Congestion persists on the M32 southbound from the M4 to junction 2 with 10-minute delays. And on the trains, Chiltern Railways faces disruptions between South Ruislip and London Marylebone, while cross-country services may be affected by industrial action. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
A lot of people have been imbibed with the notion you're born white, you're born male, you've won life's lottery, but that's not what people are telling you. Tell us, what began your journey on this fascinating path?
I mean, I think rather like you, I've had a long interest in men and mental health. And I was talking to companies about men's mental health, and at the end, there'd always be guys who come up to me and say, I can't say this out loud, but my career has taken a real hit because I'm a man. I don't know what to do with that. You know, things had to change. I'm not sexist, I'm not racist, but I'm really suffering. So I heard that so many times. I thought I need to investigate this, gauge how wide this is, and did some polling, spoke to a lot of people, and I was really staggered by what we got back. You know, for nearly half of all white guys to be walking around too scared to even give respectful feedback to a colleague, to not risk making a joke, to, you know, a third have said that their mental health has been affected because there's that terrible fear that doing or saying the wrong thing and you're out the door.
Gets you cancelled. Yeah, and then, you know, particularly from young guys, you know, more than 1 in 3 young guys saying that they've directly lost out on career opportunities, promotions because they're white men. It was a scale I didn't expect, and you know, as I said, no one's saying this didn't have to change. You know, in my old BBC days, I've worked undercover to expose racism, but the DEI, the diversity programs that have been rolled out, aren't just nice HR policies. They're actually rooted in an early 70s radical Marxism that divides everyone into oppressed and oppressor. And if you're white and male, you're an oppressor. Doesn't matter if you're working class, doesn't matter what your mental health's like, you're already seen as top of the pack. And as we know, it's a massive distortion of what it's like for most guys.
GB News, the People's Channel.
On Wednesday, the 11th of June, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
Well, what a night. Anarchy in Ballymena. Petrol bombs and fireworks were thrown at police. Violence flared overnight in Northern Ireland after an alleged sexual assault on a local girl.
Yes, a second night of violence. Rioters using fireworks, bricks, bottles and petrol bombs, setting alight to homes and vehicles, while police engaged in baton charges, plastic bullets and water cannon. Politicians now must step in.
And the spending showdown. The NHS, schools, military, police, the whole nation awake with bated breath. Rachel Reeves' spending review, which will bring you live at lunchtime. We're asking, where's all the money going to come from? Your pockets.
And we're here live in the historic market town of Darlington, getting the views of the traders, the real people here of the north